Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
On that note, with Aaron Rodgers, Bleacher Report actually came out with a new proposed trade for the Broncos to acquire Mr. Rodgers. They would give up their first-round pick next year, their second-round pick next year, their first-round pick in 2023, and that would be the starting point of the conversation.
And Trevor Story and Nikola Jokic.
There you go. All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, December the 22nd, 2021. Jersey Johnny coming at you. And with me, as always, is none other than Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, Mr. Lug Nutz.
Hello, Mr. Lug Nutz.
How the hell are you tonight?
I'm doing all right. It's that end of the year thing.
It is always that end of the year thing at this time of year, right?
Well, it's always the end of the year at the end of the year.
Absolutely. Yeah. Case in point.
Yes.
RadioPete will be along momentarily.
That's right.
He got tied up at a holiday concert. I think he was playing trombone tonight. First share, as a matter of fact, I believe. But he'll be joining us post haste. And but until then, you have the two of us to get this thing kicked off. Anyway, it is a major holiday week. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody out there. And Happy Festivus if you do celebrate it.
Tomorrow is Festivus.
Tomorrow is Festivus. Maybe later we can do some feats of strength. I mean, we air the grievances every week anyway. So
we do. We do.
No difference there.
I got the aluminum pole out of the crawl space earlier.
Absolutely.
So we're all ready to go.
We're set to go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But yeah, we can do some feats of strength. I'm going to do one shortly. I have a nice Christmas beer I'm going to have tonight on the show.
Oh, you are? Look at you.
Little Anchor Christmas. Anchor, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year 2021. That's the name of the beer. So,
who would have thought beer would become what it has?
It's amazing. Quite literally. So, I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
I know you enjoy it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. You enjoy it as well.
I do. I don't have bottles of beer in my living room because I didn't know you'd.
What are you trying to say?
I didn't know you weren't supposed to refrigerate beer. I guess. Yeah.
Well, no, you don't. You have to. You need to refrigerate beer, but you can, as long as it's room temperature and cellared, not room temperature, but room temperature or less and cellared in that respect for bigger stouts and heavier stouts and barrel aged beers and stuff like that. Those you can have.
How about Schlitz?
Schlitz, not so much. Schlitz needs to be at like a constant 33 degrees.
Yeah, I remember when I left that out in the garage once. It wasn't so tasty.
Not so much. Well, if you leave it out in the garage in the winter, it's quite all right.
Well, in the winter. This wasn't the winter.
Yeah, if you leave it in the garage in the summer, you have about 3.5 minutes to finish it, or it's not so much.
Wow.
So, but anyway. So, we'll leave the football background up and just mention one thing here. And, probably if you want, we can even wait to mention it when Pete does get on after football.
Oh, go ahead and mention it. I know you want to.
Hey, Buck Showalter. The Mets actually did something right. Again. A couple of times in the last few weeks.
You're a Mets fan when you're ecstatic about Buck Showalter.
Well, think about who's out there.
I agree.
Think about who's out there, and think about who the Mets have had in the last, since Terry Collins.
I think it's a good pick, and I think the Mets are doing things. They've had a busy offseason, and congratulations. I think he's going to be a good fit.
I think so.
He's probably the best available manager, at least as a known entity, and I think the Mets needed to go with something along those lines. We'll see. Maybe this is a sign of things to change a little bit and allow the decision making to be made on the field.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I think it's about time that happens. And you know what? They're in win mode. We're in win now mode now anyway. So they needed somebody like Buck Showalter to come in and do that. They can't have a learning on the job manager that hasn't been manager before at this particular point in time. With the team that they have. They need to win now and maybe bring somebody up behind them on the bench that can learn from him over the next 3 years, and wind up being the heir apparent. And even if they extend him for a year and something like that to make a transition, hey, whatever. But get to the series, win one, hopefully, and that's the plan, right? Buck Showalter said it is at his press conference yesterday. You know, you get these managers, and you had it with Mickey Callaway, you had it with even Carlos Beltran before he never even managed a day, and then you had it with Louis Rojas. You know, get to the playoffs, get deep in the playoffs, do this, do that, make noise. You know, you hear all those things, right? But Buck Showalter flat out just said the goal is to be the last team standing.
Yeah, and hopefully standing on a baseball field with
right.
You know,
not standing in a bar watching the World Series
with the third out being called in
exactly.
your favor in the World Series. Yeah,
exactly. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Apparently, he's going to wear number 11, whatever that means, for whatever that's worth. But it was pointed out that Buck Showalter forever has always been wearing a windbreaker of sorts over his jersey. So him holding his number 11 jersey up at the press conference is probably the last time anybody's ever going to see that. So,
is it odd to anybody else that these managers wearing uniforms and having to have numbers? I mean, it's really bizarre.
It's a tradition.
It's the only sport. It's the only sport where it happens.
Right. It's a tradition. And so be it. I mean, there's Mets have what? The Mets only have 5 numbers retired now. 6 count Jackie Robinson, but and more to come apparently this year, next year, and the year after. They're going to retire a few more numbers, but
traditions are great. But it's odd. It's weird to me. It's always been weird to me. But I guess Walter Matthau didn't wear a uniform in the Bad News Bears. He did.
No, he did not. He did not. Well, he also had beer. And that we come full circle.
There were some managers in the 70s who definitely had beer in the dugout, but yes.
This is very true.
Maybe some things other than beer, but yes.
Yeah, you could say.
Yeah, yes.
I see where you're going, but yeah, absolutely. But in any event, so we'll see. And one thing was brought up, and I'll ask you, and I know what your answer is going to be, but I'm asking anyway. Could based on what the Mets have done this offseason so far with the signings, with Starling Marte, with Max Scherzer, with Buck Showalter, and the lack of anything that the Yankees have done, does that swing the town, if you will, in the Mets' favor? You know, albeit momentarily, till we see what happens. But at the moment, does it resonate more as a hey, the Mets are actually doing something here, and the Yankees are not?
Well, the answer to that question is no. But considering that you're talking about the largest sports market in the United States,
sure,
and you're talking about a franchise that is always going to, at least in our lifetime, always going to have a default advantage in that because they've been around a lot longer, and there's tons of Mets fans. And will there be more Mets fans if they start to win?
Of course.
Yes. Are there more Yankee fans if the Yankees win? I don't think so. So it's not going to spin the town away from the Yankees. What it might do is draw some more attention to the Mets, like the Mets have in the past when the Mets have been doing well and the Yankees haven't. Now,
sure. Well, I mean, you go back to the
80s, and that really only happened once. The
80s, the Yankees were on the bottom of the barrel there, and the Mets were riding high most of the decades.
That doesn't mean that it became a Mets town. It just
temporarily for that period, it was more. Well, see, I didn't call it a Mets town. I didn't say it was a Mets town. I said swing it in the Mets' favor as far as the popularity and the news stories and the headlines. Because I mean, if they're both doing, typically the Yankees are at the top. The Yankees are on the back page. And the Mets are like 4 pages in a small article towards the bottom.
I don't know. I don't know what that means anymore because I think that's somewhat more irrelevant than it used to be because how many people are reading the New York Post back page? I will say this, that I think because we're not relying on actual physical newspapers, I think there's equal coverage. I really do. In fact, I almost feel like there was more coverage of the Mets this offseason than there was the Yankees, even though the Yankees had a lot to deal with. So, yeah, I think nationally it'll give the Mets more attention. I think I think there's more people that will jump on board that are not really baseball fans that will jump on board if the Mets start to do well. Right. The Yankees have their fans. The Yankees have their haters. I don't really think that changes very much.
No, not so much. I think you hit the nail on the head there, though. It's not. It really doesn't have to come down to a New York thing, right? It has. No. It's about national notoriety,
Sure.
so to speak. Yankees are always in a national spotlight, no matter what they do.
Right.
They could tank next season and win 60 games. They're still going to be in the national spotlight because they're the Yankees.
Right.
So, but stuff like this, and now and Mets fans are all over the place are hoping that this is not just a brief interlude. This is the Steve Cohen era, right? And this is going to happen, from this point forward. So if that's the case, then it vaults them into the national spotlight much more so than they've really ever been, and hopefully holds them there.
Look, it's good for baseball. It's good for New York sports when the Yankees and Mets are both doing well.
Sure.
The Yankees are probably going to have a decent season again. Does that mean they're going to exceed expectations or even make it to the playoffs or be able to get past a wild card game? Who the hell knows?
Who knows?
But I don't think it's going to change the geometry too much. The Scherzer signing was a big deal. Is Sterling filling a hole as an aging center fielder with Sterling Marte going to change that? No. And I think from a national dialogue, it's the Yankees, it's the Dodgers. I think obviously during the playoffs, the Giants were a big part of the story. But those are going to be the teams that are going to still dominate the talk. Now, if some of these other teams that have made pretty big signings, like the Texas Rangers or fill in the blank, some other teams that have obviously gotten better, I think the Braves are still going to be part of that dialogue. I think the national dialogue will expand a little bit more.
Yeah.
But you hopefully there's more talk about the Mets in a positive way, and hopefully as a Yankee fan, there's more talk about the Yankees in a positive way. But I also feel like what helps the Yankees with exposure and a larger fan base hurts the Yankees with the fact that what I see every day is constant criticism, deservedly so, of the ownership of the Yankees and of their lack of doing anything in this offseason. And, you start for a week there, it was headlines about Clint Frazier and his yakety yak, dismissing of the Yankees and things like that. There's nothing positive coming out of it. Right now, the big talk was, will the Mets do the right thing? Will the Mets sign Buck Showalter? Will the Mets sign Buck Showalter? And they did. They went out and got Max Scherzer, which was kind of a surprise to me. I think that came out of nowhere. I don't even think that was not on the radar of any media. So those are all positive things for the Mets, whereas most of the attention on the Yankees right now is negative. And that has a lot to do with the history of the Yankees sports media coverage and the Yankee fan base. We're not happy. The minute after we win the World Series, we're criticizing them for not signing the right people or getting enough backup, Right.
But and to your point on the whole Scherzer thing, I had sent it to you and Pete the other day. Doug Williams from SNY, he was being interviewed or whatever, and he was quoted as saying that going out there and just taking the bull by the horns, so to speak, and signing Scherzer at all costs was a very Steinbrennerian thing to do.
Yeah, I agree.
And he says, "Is that a word? Steinbrennerian?" He says it should be, but
I guess it's better than Steinbrennery.
Yeah, Steinbrennerian. He said, yeah. So, and we and we the royal we here at the Get On With It sports show and Doug Williams went back and forth with a couple tweets on that particular topic. It was pretty interesting. So, and I agree, it's a very Steinbrennerian thing to do. So,
well, the Yankees are not really following their past.
And make no mistake, when we say Steinbrennerian, and I'm sure Doug Williams meant the same, we mean George, not Hal. Right. So,
well, the question mark, and I'll leave it at this. I don't really need to get into a big discussion on this. This is a question that I've been asking for a while now. Are the reasons Yankees not really making these moves like they used to? Do the Yankees no longer have the pockets that they used to? And I think this is a question that has not been answered. I don't know the Yankees' inability to make these big signings, whether it be in the offseason or at the All-Star break or at the trade deadline or whatever the case might be. Is there actual concern financially for the Yankees in this matter? Are they unable to do this anymore? And I think the answer might be yes, and I don't think anybody's really talking about this.
Right.
I think that could potentially be the issue here.
It could very possibly be.
And so if that's the case, that it puts the Yankees, like, it doesn't mean they haven't gone out and signed big contracts.
No, it doesn't mean they're broke, by the way. It just means
No.
that they have less money than they've had in the past.
But they've also, let's be honest, they've also what's the last 5 huge signings the Yankees have had? None of them have really paid off big dividends, as of yet.
Right.
I think the verdict is still out on Stanton. I hate to say it, but I think the verdict is out on Cole. Before that, what were the big signings? It's hard to sort of dig in and say that's the case. And they're going to have to make a really big decision with Aaron Judge at the end of the year.
Big signing, big free agent, big name signing before
Cole and Stanton.
Cole and Stanton. I mean, do you have to go back to Jacoby Ellsbury?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you take Ellsbury, that was a complete failure. Right. I mean, and before that, did we go back to A-Rod, which I think had mixed results, but I think A-Rod lived up to.
That's a while. I mean, that's
a while ago.
That's close to 20
years ago. So, at the level of a Max Scherzer, at the level of a Lindor signing, those are equal to a Cole and a Stanton. But so the Yankees don't have any advantage there. They haven't gone out and they weren't able to get Scherzer last year at the trade deadline. They weren't able to go out and it seemed, getting Anthony Rizzo and Gallo. I mean, it sounds like a bad, boxed wine, Rizzo and Gallo. It's I mean, and it sort of is the boxed wine of superstars. I mean, okay, I like them both. Gallo, I think, is they're on the hook for him for another year. Let's see if he could do anything beyond what he did this year. And I think there's too much talk about what the Yankees are going to do at first base. They need pitching. They do. And they need a shortstop. And so,
I mean, I think honestly, I still think they're going to wind up with Correa, but although I don't know if you,
I don't know about that. We'll see.
There was a group of carolers by Wrigley Field the other day, and they were singing one Christmas carol. They were singing instead of Gloria, that song.
Mm-hmm.
They were singing Correa, come play in Chicago. There, so it's pretty interesting. So
look at the Cubs. I mean, there's a team that's been able to pull the plug, with no nostalgia attack to it, and say, hey, we're going to clean house, but we're not cleaning house just to go 6 years and
we're going to
clean
house and be back next year.
Well, cleaning house and rebooting.
Get a new crop.
We're getting younger, better players. Yankees haven't been able to do that. They've really.
I know.
So we'll see.
We will see. Hey, you know what? There's nothing that can happen now. It'd be nice to say, hey, you know what? Maybe Christmas morning.
Yeah. I think the lockout has a lot to do with the lack of activity for obviously
a lot of teams. Look, the Yankees are the only team that didn't do anything. Only a handful of teams.
The Dodgers
did,
really haven't done much.
No.
The Cubs did. The Rangers did. The Mariners sort of did. The Mets did.
Certainly.
So we shall see. A lot of it was teams that were not necessarily in the playoffs last year that have come back and made some big moves.
Agreed. All right. Well, we'll see what happens and how that pans out. We'll next week or two we'll have we'll start taking an over under on how long the lockout's going to last. We'll wait till we get to January in a couple of weeks and
I don't think we're going to see any news on that until at least a month.
No, it's going to be a while, but we'll see. All right, let's move on to football. Normally we start off football with our quiz, but we'll hold that off until Mr. Radio Pete joins us. Let's jump right into the 400-pound elephant in the room. Games postponing again. COVID back. A lot of people out. New regulations coming down.
We're bringing COVID back.
Yeah. It's a shame. But
I kind of like having a 3:00 Tuesday game.
It's interesting, right?
I'm always
breaks up the day.
I walk around confused often. I'm really confused when there's a football game on at 3:00 in the afternoon on Tuesday. I'm like, Whoa! I don't remember being on a bender. What's going on here? It's yeah. Look, I think the postponements are fine. Hopefully we can get this under control and start. It seems like the spread it's going to impact this week's game, but it doesn't seem like there's been a ton of new announcements as far as players that have
there haven't. But I mean, in
Well,
general, when it comes to like the general population, when it comes to
Right.
everybody else, I mean, is it just me? And maybe I'm missing, maybe I'm forgetting, but to me, even though what are we at 70 something, close to 80% vaccine rate, somewhere it's in the 70s, right, or something like that.
Yeah, but it's not high enough with 2 and or 3 doses.
Right.
That rate really counts people who are
It counts
just
people
not
that just
jumping
got
on
one
board
shot,
with
right,
one.
yeah.
And
But-
this is really, we shouldn't be calling this third dose a booster. We should be calling this is really a 3 vax.
Right, this is another one.
You
Yeah,
know,
I mean, it's the same strength as the first 2 shots. So I mean, you're boosting. Yeah, you're boosting what you got out of the first 2 collectively. So it's less than that. But
regardless, it's
but-
it's kind of hard for football players to socially distance.
yeah, no, of course it is. But I'm just saying, as far as this spike now with this Omicron, to me, it's much more, spreading much faster than the original virus when it first came here.
It's
March
it's spreading a little faster. It's far less. The symptoms are not as bad.
Severe, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, depending, there's some people who are not necessarily, who have had some breakthrough cases and who have had some bad cases of it. But look, it's what we're dealing with. We're going to be dealing with it for a long time.
This isn't going anywhere tomorrow.
This isn't going anywhere. And I think with the vaccine now, obviously the severity of this has been diminished, and it's like the flu or anything else. We can't shut down society again.
Right.
So we're going to have to figure out ways of dealing with this.
Yeah.
And for the NBA and for the NFL, and the only thing that really combated this is sequestering these players in a bubble.
Yeah.
And there might have to be some talk about that again at some point.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, there might be we might be missing people at events again. Like they might
Well, and look, in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, we're going to see a large spike because people are traveling for Christmas and then they're traveling for New Year's. There's some events on New Year's that are being canceled, but most of them are still open. You're going to see a lot of people indoors at concerts and parties and everything else.
Sure.
So we're going to see a big spike.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna
whether or not that impacts the athletes or not, it probably will.
Right.
But
it does. I mean, look, hey, the bigger picture is the important part here, and that's everybody needs to be safe and remain healthy and get just look. Whether you're for it or against it, get vaccinated if you're for it. Wear your mask if you don't want to. Whatever. You just got to take care of yourself and take care of others and everything else. That's the bigger picture here. But as far as just from a football standpoint, and again, I'm not diminishing the bigger picture. Just specifically speaking, sports-wise and football specifically, the timing couldn't be worse because the playoffs and there's a lot of implications here, and the more players that are out that are impactful players for their teams are, playing a big role in their teams, potentially losing a game, and some of them have already. And and it's the timing. I mean, hey, timing's always bad no matter what, right? But specifically for this right now, it's the crunch time here. And we won't even get into the fantasy football guys and all of that. Because there's big betting in that, there's big numbers in that, and people are losing games. People that could have walked through their leagues with forget about the players and their teams, just the fantasy wise. People could have walked through their leagues and won it are now struggling because they have to not play them. But this
is first world.
The first world problems.
First world problems.
I mean, that's the least. That's the least problem. But
I'm surprised Vegas does not have a line on who's going to contract COVID.
Right. It probably will soon enough, and you'll be able to bet on it in FanDuel and DraftKings.
Yeah, will it be part of a new double-double?
Sure,
Who
exactly.
Who knows?
Prop bets, which variant do they get?
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
But in any event, I'm not, belittling it. I'm not by any means just trying to make.
Yeah, and look, if they
trying to
have
make conversation here.
if they have to postpone a couple games or delay something because it gets too out of hand, then they'll do that.
And props to them for doing that because the other thing too is the players that are vaccinated, right? They don't have to necessarily quarantine for 10 days. If they get two negative, it's less, and they get two negative tests, then they can come back. So if they by postponing a game or two here, moving it around, then they're able to play. They can get it in. So it does.
I'll leave that up to smarter minds to figure out.
Sure, absolutely. We don't. They're certainly not asking us to put our 2 cents worth in. So.
Well, they asked me, but it's
right.
It's I'm sure they're consulting with Joe Rogan right now.
I'm sure they are.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes.
In any event, all right. We'll kick it off with any of you watching this podcast. By the way, we're going to kick off Giants now. Any of you watching from any of the Giants groups, you'll know why in a little while I'm wearing this. But remember, Jersey Johnny, always wearing different jerseys. Anyway, kicking it off for Giants. Lost again to Dallas. Is this really a surprise?
You're asking me. I'm the guy who's
Well, it was kind of rhetorical. I know.
Yeah, no, they're horrible. And there's finally people
Why
coming
you talking
out.
about open my beer, second?
Yeah, there's finally people coming out and saying, this isn't just a Dave Gettleman. This isn't just an ownership issue. They've made some bad decisions, and Joe Judge is part of that.
Yes, he is.
And look, they shut Daniel Jones down for the year. Okay, fine. We're gonna see some Jake Fromm. Everybody's gonna get excited for 3 minutes. And
who are we gonna see?
Jake Fromm.
Let's put up a picture. By the way, this is
Jake from State Farm.
Jake from State Farm. This is Jake Fromm at his press conference after the game on Sunday. There we go, right there. Okay.
I mean, he looks like Joe Flacco.
He does look like Joe Flacco, actually. But those of you just listening to the audio podcast, he's wearing a flannel with a vest over it, a winter vest, if you will, a puffier vest, and a baseball cap.
He looks like every bro that's at a brewery here in Denver.
But pretty much looks like he's going to leaving. He's either going to a brewery or he's going fishing after the podcast.
The flannel's way too neat and tidy to be going fishing.
That's true.
He's definitely not going to bait a hook with that.
He's going to a brewery. He's going to a brewery.
Yeah, or church or something. Who knows?
Somewhere like that, or maybe he's just going Christmas shopping. Who knows? But in any event, that's Jake Fromm. Well, hey, look, I hope he does get some starts. I'm going to tell you why. Mike Glennon, he's horrible. I think you can agree that if it came down to either Mike Glennon or Daniel Jones, you're taking Daniel Jones every day of the week and twice.
Well, there's a reason. There's a reason why Mike Glennon hasn't played in a football game in a long time, and why he wasn't necessarily the Giants' first pick for a backup.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see about Fromm. All right.
I'm not saying he's going to be a savior by any means, but maybe he can be a serviceable, good, backup quarterback, or maybe it's an audition for him for a team that needs a quarterback next year. And maybe
he's
that's the Giants.
He's on a team that needs a quarterback.
Quarterback next year, right? Exactly.
That's sure I want him.
Yeah. Exactly. But in any event, the bottom line is Daniel Jones is done for the rest of the season. All right. And there's 3 games left. Right. There's absolutely no reason. You know what you got in Mike Glennon. What do you try? Are you unless you're deliberately, quote unquote, we're not tanking, but tanking.
I don't see the Giants. I don't see the Giants winning another game, and I quite honestly, I might not watch.
But the bottom line is, you know what you got, Mike Glennon. Throw Fromm in there. Throw the kid in there. Give him some reps. Let's see what he can happen. I mean, Mike Glennon the other day, he had three picks. One was batted, but still 3 picks, and 2 of them he was thrown directly to the defender.
He looked very Daniel Jones-esque.
He looked more Daniel Jones than Daniel Jones does.
Well, look, he let's face it though, he was shellacked a few times too in there. The play calling, the offensive line, this team just doesn't. They look more out of whack than they ever have, and that's saying a lot because the Giants' offense is miserable.
Yeah,
I thought the defense kept them in the game, but they had no right winning that game, and they're not going to. And they're playing a hot Eagles team this week that looked again. The Giants are the worst team in the East. Washington and the Eagles, you could say, are very close. The Eagles had their quarterback. Washington didn't. Right. So Dallas is still the best team in the NFC East. And what are the Giants going to gain by? What I'd like to see is them really simplify things, get back to running, a balance between running and passing, try to get this offensive line clicking, and maybe get Saquon Barkley back into the mix running the ball and not throwing him 3-yard passes behind his back, setting him up to get plastered by a safety or a linebacker.
Well, speaking of that, Barkley, to date, this year, Saquon Barkley has 3.7 yards per carry and 2 TDs.
Yep.
Devontae Booker has 4.5 yards per carry and 2 TDs.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody told me last year, or somebody told me a few years ago, hey, you know what? In 2021, Devontae Booker is going to be on the Giants. He's going to be, have better production than Saquon Barkley. And again, this is yards per carry. This isn't total yards. It's not like you can blame his injuries on this and his slow start. It's his yards per carry. Now, granted, the type of running, and somebody said it the other day, too. I was listening to one of the shows, I forget, and they said, Barkley seems to be dancing too much in the backfield. Waiting for that hole to open up. Devontae Booker's just taken off. And I saw him the other day. He changed direction and ran around. It wasn't even a design play. It was just what was presented to him, and he's speedy. And not to say that Saquon Barkley's not speedy, but I agree. He seems to be dancing too much in the background. In the background.
There's going to be a time where the Giants are going to have to make a decision on both Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. Is this the future of the team? Mm-hmm. They've invested a lot of high draft capital on this. And, right now you'd have to say that both are pretty disappointing. Now, look, they're both playing behind an offensive line that is less than stellar. Mm-hmm. I do think the Giants' offensive line is better this year than it was last year. I think they've made some improvements there. That's not saying much because they were atrocious last year.
They were, yeah. I mean, just this fact alone that
But I think the biggest difference, the biggest difference between Saquon Barkley's rookie year and what is now is that he's a little gun shy because he's had some really serious injuries, and the lifeline of a NFL running back these days is very short. How many running backs have been consistently good for 3, 4, 5 years in a row without sustaining major injuries or being subjected to really diminishing their output? Right. Look at Le'Veon Bell as an example. I mean, we're talking an MVP candidate 1 year, and 2 years later, he's struggling to be a backup on some teams. Yeah. I mean, every year there's a new running back, and some of them are great, but Christian McCaffrey, again, riddled with injuries. There's the injury bug is severe with running backs, and a lot of it just has to do with the fact that they take a lot of wear and tear, and a lot is asked of them nowadays, especially as two-way players, both running and receiving. Mm-hmm. They get hit more than probably any other offensive position, and their longevity is not what it used to be. So the idea of investing high draft capital in a running back is just look at the last couple drafts. How many running backs have been taken in the first round? If you just go back to the 90s or the early 2000s, comparatively, and the running back position has been diminished. And yes, there are the Derrick Henrys who, again, hurting out. There are those players who can be game changers. Jonathan Taylor this year is such an example. Sure. But can you honestly say that Jonathan Taylor is going to be doing this 3 years from now?
You don't know.
You don't know. That's the thing. It's very unpredictable.
He could be horrible next year, great the following year, horrible for 2 years after that, and then better than he is this year, the year after that.
You just don't know.
You don't know.
And
a lot of it is the team. A lot of it is the plays. A lot of it is the line. The bulk of it is the line. I mean, the offensive line is just as important to a running back as the running back's abilities and skill set.
Right.
So, give me a minute to welcome to the show, fresh from his debut on first chair trombone, at the holiday concert in East Northport. Mr. Radio Pete, how are you, sir?
What a clusterfuck.
We're talking
the show, or
we're talking about the Giants.
Giants, Jets, the concert. Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a lot of clusterfucks in New York right now.
Yeah.
it's a lot of New York.
Well, listen, they sounded pretty good, but goodness gracious, as usual, just a.
It looks like you got an Amazon delivery in your little podcast nook there.
Actually, that might be tonight's over/under.
Oh,
How many Amazon boxes do I have?
Yeah. Well, welcome.
Welcome to.
We haven't gotten very far. We're just talking about how hard. We congratulated you on the Mets, so we don't have to go over that. We are talking about. I think we're done. Giants suck.
Pretty much Giants. I got a couple of things to talk about. One thing on the Giants. We'll wrap up the Giants, and then we'll go into we'll double back to the quiz and then go into Jets. But whatchamacallit, as far as the Giants go, I'm going to point a couple things out here. The Giants on Sunday, they lost to the Cowboys. Mike Glennon started again. For why, we don't know. They secured the 5th straight double-digit losing season that they've had.
That was nice of them to do that for us.
Very nice. But they
consistent.
They did give out a free soda, medium at that.
Nice.
One per family. One per family.
Per family.
So, yeah, it's per family. You had to share it.
How big was it?
Medium. It was a medium Pepsi.
So that's what?
12 ounces.
16 ounces, maybe 18,
16.
20,
Okay.
somewhere in there. You know.
So for a nuclear family, it's 4 ounces each. Well,
Four ounces.
it's less, though, because it has ice.
Ice. Yeah, they got a sip each.
So it's
basically.
8 ounces.
Right. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so.
And that was on the way in, on the way out, or
I guess you had to go get it if you wanted it. I'm sure they didn't hand them as
Yeah,
you were
probably
walking
gave you, like,
in,
a little voucher tag or
voucher and go get it. And yeah, right, exactly.
That'd be great. Just an unlidded soda. They just got them all lined up out
Here you
there.
go.
Here you go.
no straw. And listen, and I can tell you,
I don't want to kill the dolphins.
as anyone who's worked in the food service industry will tell you, like soda is nothing.
No.
You know,
Soda costs nothing.
no,
Soda
it costs
costs nothing.
like it was. I think like maybe,
Every restaurant can
maybe
afford to give every bit of soda away.
Yeah, like a 20-ounce glass
matter.
of soda, like with no ice, or
A
12
nickel.
ounces was like 5 or 6 cents.
Yeah.
And that was like 40 years ago, and it's probably no more than
It hasn't
6 or 8
really
cents.
gone up.
It's probably
Hasn't hit 10
cheaper, in
cents
fact, because it's easier to make now and,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So,
Exactly.
like, why not
I've
just give one to
drank it in
everybody?
20 years.
Exactly. But they got one free soda. So there we go.
Yeah.
I do want to bring this up though. This is interesting. You're gonna love this. Daniel Jones versus Sam Darnold. Daniel Jones versus Sam Darnold. Excuse the graphic. It was taken straight.
This is like Mussolini versus Hitler.
No. Yeah, they're gonna have a duel in Weehawken.
That's right.
Right. Anyway, here are the numbers. Ready? I'm gonna put a graphic up. Here are the numbers. Ready? Daniel Jones versus Sam Darnold for their first 3 seasons. Record: Daniel Jones 12-25, Sam Darnold 13-25. Completion percentage: Daniel Jones a little bit edging him out, 62.8% to Sam Darnold's 59.8%. Passing yardage: Daniel Jones 8,398 yards, edges out Sam Darnold just a little bit, 8,097 yards. Passing TDs, both of them 45. Yep. And turnovers: Daniel Jones one less than Sam Darnold, 57 to Sam Darnold's 58. So quite literally the same quarterback in the first 3 years.
That's what makes them the 25th and 26th worst ranked. Or 20. You know, they're probably the bottom 2 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Right. It's insane.
Well, here's maybe one little difference, though, is I don't know if this is going to be cold comfort, maybe, but Sam Darnold had a couple years of Adam Gase.
Yeah.
Now, I know Joe Judge isn't doing a good job. I think that's been established, but he's no Adam Gase. So does that mean that maybe Daniel Jones is even worse than Sam Darnold?
Yeah. Look, I'm going to disagree with you there. I don't think Joe Judge is any better than Adam Gase. I don't. What has he done?
No.
Compare the records.
Well, I mean, Adam Gase almost went over last year, so
again.
Yeah, but I mean, at least he's not like. At least he's
the
not.
Giants
a weirdo.
had a lot more talent than the Jets last year,
right? But at least he's not a weirdo, and
how do we know that? I don't.
He wasn't stoned out of his mind at his introductory press conference.
Maybe that's what we need.
I still like that one with the when his eyes are following a taco.
Yeah, this coming from a franchise who idolizes Rex Ryan. Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
We don't want any weirdos here.
None of them.
Right,
None of them need a mitt.
Well, listen, Rex. Rex was good.
Sexy
He
Rexy.
was good for the franchise for that first year.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look,
let me throw more graphic up for the Giants too.
Well, combine the Giants and Jets if you look at the stats combined,
they're the two worst teams in the NFL. They're the two worst teams in the NFL.
Well, I don't know if we'll find out this week. We'll certainly find out this week.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute on the Jets. But let me put this one of the Giants graphic up here.
I don't think either are worse than the Jags.
It's the road to nowhere for the Giants last 5 seasons. 2017 they went 3-13, last in the NFC East. 2018 they went 5-11, last in the NFC East. 2019 4-12, third in the NFC East, so second to last.
So
last
22
year,
and 56. Is that what I'm seeing here?
20, yeah. 12 last year, 2020, 6-10, and they were second in the NFC East. And again, if Philly had beaten Washington, which they should have in that final game that we talked about, obviously ad nauseum when that happened, the Giants actually would have won the division last year with 6-10. But whatchamacallit? And then so far this year, they're 4-10 and last in the NFC East. So yeah, they're 18, 22, and 56. Yeah, 22 and 56. Yeah, horrible numbers,
That's
ridiculous numbers. Did you see what I'd sent? If anybody's out there, if you didn't see this, it's posted on the Get On With It podcast Facebook page from Sunday. It was the Fox NFL Sunday. They did a little spoof on Sex and the City, called it Sacks in the Cities. And it was the NFC East or whatever, and it was the 4 characters as the Giants, the Redskins. I'm sorry, pardon me, the football team, the Eagles, and the Cowboys, and they pretty much nailed it with the characters.
Carries the Cowboys.
Carrie is the Giants.
Really?
Yeah.
Miranda's the Jets.
Miranda's the
Eagles?
the Eagles. Charlotte is the football team, and Samantha is the Cowboys. And she kept saying, she says, the playoffs. I need it constantly. I need the playoffs constantly, right? And then Carrie shows up and says, "I'm sorry, I'm late. I was busy getting blown out again." And and then as she's thinking, she says, "What if I never win the playoffs again? Will I just be the Jets?" So it was pretty funny. Go anyway, and if you haven't seen it, go to the Facebook, go to our Facebook page. Get On With It Sports Podcast Facebook page. It's posted on there. It's pretty funny. Anyway, there was one other thing I wanted to bring up, but as DJ's out for the rest of the season, we knew that. So, one last thing on the Giants. 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that the Giants had gone 45-0 scoring wise in the last 2 minutes of the first half.
It's more than that now, right?
Last week it went up to 59.
Yeah.
Okay, it's at 65 now. Okay, it's at 65.
They suck.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And but I just keep giving up points, multiple scores for the other team inside of 2 minutes after the 2-minute warning of the first half every game.
Here's something that I just thought of this second, which I find interesting is that I know I got my cameras reversed. Hold on. I realize I'm looking over here because normally you're over here. Look, the Giants have how long have they been owned by the current?
Long time.
Since their inception.
Yeah. Okay. So
1925.
Long time, pretty much a class act, right?
Almost
Good
100
football
years,
family, etc.
Coming up on 100 years. Yeah.
But they're still floundering. Mm-hmm. The Jets, on the other hand, were owned for a long time by Leon Hess, who was a nice guy who just wanted to win. Mm-hmm. He was a hands-off owner. Mm-hmm. He wasn't very good at picking people to run the team overall.
Do they still have the Hess trucks this time of year?
Yep.
I think
every
so.
year. Yeah, they do. Every
but
year.
Now, of course, they're run by the
Woody
pharmaceutical Wilpons.
I like that. The pharmaceutical Wilpons.
Who were just
not Mike Wilpon.
Stupid and disorganized. I wish they'd be run by Mike Wilpon. That would be
maybe
great.
If they were run by Flip Wilson, maybe that would.
And they're disorganized and stupid and don't really know what they're doing. So, because I think we talked last week or the week before, and I was going, well, we have to put this on the ownership, right? They keep hiring bad people,
Right.
But you have this stalwart, legendary in a sense, longtime family ownership of the Giants and the good football people, and then you have the opposite of the Jets. But they're both floundering. Neither one of them can seem to bring in a crew to right the ship.
It's not the same. It's not the same ownership. It's not the same people making the people that were making the decisions. And the Giants have had long periods of bad decision making, and they've had short periods of success. The Giants have never had an elongated period of great success, except maybe in the 40s and 50s.
40s and 50s.
But that's become more and more
early. I mean, pretty much from day one up through the early 60s, they were relevant pretty much all the time. They had a couple bad years here and there, but they were pretty much relevant for about 40 years.
Yeah, but since then,
but they've still won with
since we've had running water, they have not been.
No, and their biggest problem, the Giants' biggest problem, and this has been a problem since throughout their history, is that they're too what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
They're too caring about. They're too considerate to their current personnel. They're too loyal. They're too loyal to anybody that's been a Giant before. Go back to the 70s. Andy Robustelli, great player, horrible GM. And just made wrong decision after wrong decision.
Giants haven't been bad for 30
Dave
years.
Gettleman was not.
No. But because of their down
offensive tackle,
right? But because of their downtrodden years in the 70s, that kind of sparked what happened in the late 70s, bringing in George Young, bringing in Ray Perkins, who gave way to Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick, and got them into the 90s. And then you had a couple of bad years.
But George Young was making decisions in personnel.
Right. He was making decisions in personnel. And then he was followed up by Ernie Accorsi. And again, they had a couple of lean years in the 90s, but for the most part, they were somewhat relevant. They weren't anything like they are now. Yeah. They were much better. Even though they were floundering a little bit a couple of years here and there in the 90s, they were still much better than they are now. And they followed it up with Ernie Accorsi. When Ernie Accorsi left and Jerry Reese came in and took over for him, and that was in the late 2000s after the first Patriots Super Bowl. He lost the George Young / Ernie Accorsi way. He didn't pay attention basically. But again, he's another disciple, and it's always in line, right? Ernie Accorsi was a disciple of George Young and followed him up.
They need a new GM.
They need a new GM.
They need
a new GM.
And someone who doesn't come from that family tree of philosophy.
Right. They need to get out of the building and get somebody from the outside that's been doing it and winning and succeeding somewhere else and bring him in.
The Giants aren't in ownership like the Cowboys with Jerry Jones, where Jerry Jones is going to dictate what goes on personnel-wise. The Giants, the ownership has always given, for the most part, free reign to the people in that GM position. And Gettleman might be the worst of them all.
Right. But I guess my point is that the family has a long history, and you're right. It's not always the same members of the family, right? Because eventually they grow old and get out of the game or pass away. But
it's John Mara and Steve Tisch. And I mean, before them were their fathers, Wellington Mara and
but that's
Robert
what I mean.
Tisch, yeah.
They learned from those guys,
right?
And so they're, carrying on and
the loyalty and everything else.
Right. They're doing things the way they were, taught
brought
to
up
do
to
them.
do. Yeah.
And the GM position is a lot harder than it is today because you're not signing people to long-term contracts. You have far more player personnel decisions to make. You're trying to do things in a condensed time frame. You're not building teams anymore. It just doesn't happen.
Building a team to build a dynasty and be in place for 10 years.
I would argue there's no NFL team, even those with a consistent ownership, that's consistently been good year in and year out. It just doesn't happen. The one team that comes to mind that maybe gets close to that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's about it.
Well, it depends on what your definition of good is.
Relevant.
Having a winning record every year, and getting to the playoffs.
We have a comment from Mr. David Scardino wants to weigh in on his feelings about the NFC East, and that would be saying the Cowboys beast of the East.
Yeah, that's like saying you're prom.
That's like
queen.
saying the Yankees are better than the.
It's like having the most teeth at the old age home.
It's like saying the Yankees are better than the Marlins, except in 2003. But
yeah, we've said it all year. At least I've said it. The Cowboys are the best team in the East. They're not. They're not the best team in the NFC. That's for sure. But they got a shot.
Right.
Yeah.
They're the only team with a shot. Although I'll tell you something. The Eagles are looking all right.
He also said he hates it when he agrees with Harry.
Yeah, well, get used to it.
Yeah, we all do.
I'm right all the time.
There you go.
I see. Unlike you, my emotional tie to my team has never been there. I realize when my team cheats on me and I dump them. I realize when I'm in a relationship where I'm being abused and I get out of it. So it's
It's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right.
All right. So
the Giants suck. We know that.
So the Giants suck. We know that.
Right.
So all right, let's switch gears and go back to where we usually start football with, and go back to the quiz. This week it's going to be we're going back to the time period 1960 to 1980, but we're going to do tight ends.
All right.
Tight ends.
That was originally going to be the name of this podcast.
Oh.
Yeah. The 1960s tight ends. Yeah.
We couldn't quite live
60s
up
to
to
80s. I'll take Farrah Fawcett for 100.
Mm-hmm.
In
Yes,
the category of tight ends.
that's right.
Exactly.
I mean, she's no John Stamos, but she's up there.
Not at all. She's definitely up there. Absolutely. So, all right. So both of you write these down. I'm going to give you 6 names. You got to keep 4 or get rid of 2.
Oh, God, this
All
is
right?
the only test I take all week.
Exactly. Well, you should. At least it's something, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here we go. Write these down. Mike Ditka.
These are players now or coaches?
Tight ends.
Tight ends.
Tight ends coaches or tight ends?
Tight ends from. Damn it! Sorry. Tight ends from 1960 through 1980.
All right,
Tight ends from 1960 through 1980.
Ditka, next one.
Mike Ditka. John Mackey. Dave Casper.
Sam Huff better not be on this list.
I don't think he was a tight end.
He probably was at some point.
At some point, might be in like high school or
Probably.
something.
Yeah, he had to.
There you go.
He played before they had tight end. He was
Exactly.
the tackle eligible.
Right. Kellen Winslow.
Oh, I should be writing these down.
Why not? Go for it.
Ditka, Mackey.
Remember otherwise.
Ditka, Mackey, Casper, Winslow,
Ditka, Mackey, Casper, Winslow.
and associates.
Exactly. And,
We need 2 more, right?
yep, Bob Tucker.
Bob Tucker. Who the fuck
Bob
is
Tucker. Played for the Giants, so.
that? Exactly. Let's be honest. The first tight end the Giants ever had was Mark Bavaro.
Actually, Bob Tucker was a pretty good tight end for the
I-
Giants. And Riley Odoms.
Jesus Christ. Did he play for the Lakers recently?
That's his son. His grandson, actually, probably. So once again, Mike, and if you don't know some of the stats, take a quick peek on them.
Why would I do that?
But I
That's
have
not how I
I have
do
a
it.
feeling I know what you're going to
He
pick
never
anyway.
does that even in our top 10 list.
No,
Exactly.
Copy someone else's list and switch a couple of names
There
around.
you go.
I don't have time.
Mike Ditka, John Mackey, Dave Casper, Kellen Winslow, Bob Tucker, and Riley Odoms. Radio Pete, tell us who you pick first, or who,
All right,
who you're dropping.
Well, Casper and Winslow.
Definitely keeping Casper and Winslow.
Yeah. I got to keep 4?
4, yes.
All right. I'll keep fuck Ditka, he's a jerk.
All right.
I'll keep Mackey, and I'll keep Riley Odoms
Riley Odoms.
because I know his name and I never heard of Bob Tucker before. So
All right.
Tucker, you're out, and Ditka,
Tucker,
Have
you
a
and Ditka
seat.
can go have a beer and
have a seat.
have
Go
a
eat
seat
some
there.
cheese or something.
Harry, who are yours?
Well, I do know all these names. I was kind of joking, but I'm trying to really. One of the interesting things about Bob Tucker, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
is one of the few Giants Giants to play for the team in 4 different home stadiums. Here's the quiz for you guys. Name all 4 of those home stadiums that he played in.
All 4 of those home stadiums?
Giants home stadiums.
Giants home stadiums.
There's
Bob
4 of
Tucker.
them.
That
Polo
would be-
Grounds?
Nope.
No, it's
Okay.
Yankee Stadium,
Yep.
Shea Stadium,
Yep.
the Yale Bowl,
Yep.
and Giant Stadium.
You got it.
What the hell is the Yale Bowl?
That's where Yale plays.
At Yale?
You know, the one
Yale
that
has a football team?
they
Yeah.
do. They're very smart, but they, the one thing that
Their plays are brilliant, but they suck.
the one thing that always trips people up there is the Giants playing at Shea Stadium.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know that.
Yeah, Giants play Shea Stadium for a year.
All right, I am going. No
Yeah, but
offense.
that wasn't, well, all right.
What?
That
What
was
was
while
it?
they were waiting to play somewhere else, right?
Well,
Yeah.
they left Yankee
technically
Stadium.
It's a home stadium, but it's kind of a. Yeah.
It was still their home stadium for a year. It's not like they played 2
That's
games
what makes
there.
it an interesting question.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Ditka, Mackey, Casper, and Winslow. I mean, those guys are 4 of the best tight ends to ever play the game. And Kellen Winslow was just amazing.
I have a soft spot for Bob Tucker, and he was a hell of a tight end. He really was.
He was, but he didn't have anywhere near the numbers that these guys. I mean, he also
He
played.
didn't have. He wasn't too far off of them. He wasn't too far off of them. He wasn't too far off of them. He wasn't. He wasn't up there, but he wasn't too far off of them. But
Yeah.
But yeah, the right answers are those, and I understand Pete's choice of.
Why do you hate Ditka?
Odoms over Ditka. So
Wait,
I
I'm
don't
trying
know.
to piece together the hate for Ditka.
Just a persona.
Well, yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
get
but
that.
didn't he
but
win a Super Bowl with your second team?
Who's your second team? Oh, the
Cowboys.
Cowboys. Yeah,
Yeah, but what did he really do in that Super Bowl?
blocked.
I can't
caught
believe
a couple passes here
I
and there.
can't believe you guys have no love for Riley Odoms.
I like Riley Odom.
Riley Odom,
I like
yeah.
all these guys. I'm just saying the 4 best.
That
The four-
play where the quarterback threw it and he caught it, and,
Sure.
and then
Yeah.
it was
All
in
right.
the. That's one of the greatest
the
plays
play
ever.
when the quarterback threw it and he caught
It's
it.
like I like
One of the
Zeke
greatest
Mowat.
plays in football
You
history.
got to know it.
I like
Absolutely.
Zeke Mowat, but I'm taking Travis Kelce over him. You know.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I would agree
No,
with you on
but
that.
yeah, I might
I'd
take
agree
Zeke
with
Mowat
By the
over
way,
Bob
the-
Tucker.
Zeke
But
going to be
yeah.
on the show next week.
Zeke is on the show next week.
We're just going to have a bevy of like former Giant tight
There you
ends.
go.
I think he would agree with me.
Zeke,
Zeke
probably
Mowat
agree
would
with
take Travis Kelce.
you. Travis
over
Kelce
himself.
over himself, right? Exactly. And,
I mean,
and
look, sometimes you got to do it.
Dave Scardino says Mackey was awesome. Yes,
Yeah,
he
they
was.
were
Yeah.
all they were all awesome.
They were all
That's,
awesome.
that's what
They
makes
were
it
Yeah,
right.
I mean, to be honest, Ditka was a really great player. No, I'm not questioning his
I mean,
credentials.
probably the
But I
best
don't-
two.
I
The
don't
best
choose-
two on that list are Winslow and Mackey.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
don't always-
Ditka
I don't
was
always
great,
choose-
and so was
I don't always
Casper.
choose that way.
The
Yeah, I
best
know.
the best two on the list are Winslow and Mackey.
I don't always
if I
reward
had to
your-
pick one off that list,
I
it's
don't
Kellen
always
Winslow.
reward great play.
Yeah, no,
It doesn't
it's
work
always
that
just an emotional
It's an emotional
Yeah.
thing.
snap judgment,
I love it.
Yeah,
which
I
is
told you.
which is the way you took all your quizzes in high school.
Yes, listen, I am bringing the layman's perspective to this because I don't have any knowledge of anything.
You're buried in a bunker with Amazon boxes, and you're angry.
Ditka, he was great. Hate him, but he was great.
So he's off my list.
He's off my list.
That's right.
Yeah,
Shannon
well.
Sharp, screw him.
Who the hell's that? I don't know that guy. All right. Well, on that note, why don't we switch gears and talk? Since Pete is on the show now, we'll talk a little Jets.
I thought they were going to win last week.
Are the Jets gonna win today? No. I mean yes. I mean no. I mean yes. I mean no. I mean yes. I mean no.
By the way, that child that you just heard there,
Mm-hmm.
good concert. It was a clusterfuck for non-musical reasons, but it was so they he's in the symphony orchestra and the symphonic winds. I don't want a short story here. So the rehearsals he's been the only trombone in the symphony,
Okay.
and he was like, "Yeah, there's supposed to be 3 of us." So of course, concert night comes and they bring in some ringers. So they bring in like 2 teachers from the district.
Trombone Shorty.
Yeah. So my son, number 1, his teacher and private tutor, number 2, and then his middle school band teacher, number 3. So that was kind of cool.
Interesting.
That's a lot of trombone.
Yeah, it's a
But
lot of trombone.
there were 9 of them for the
Was Trombone Harry there?
for the symphonic winds. It was pretty big sound.
No, sorry.
But that was kind of a cool moment.
Gotcha.
Well, congratulations.
Well, kudos to the young Minetti, that did do well tonight in his holiday concert. So
yeah,
very nice.
All right.
And knows absolutely nothing about football.
The teacher,
which is a great segue to the Jets.
which is a great segue to the Jets.
He says he's a Cowboys fan because there's I have the Jets giant head behind me. Well, I have a Cowboys one, and that's in the other bedroom. That's in his bedroom. So.
There you go. Gotcha. All right.
But that's all he knows.
Well, speaking of the Jets, they lost last week.
Yeah. Listen, the Dolphins have won, 11 team games in a row now.
Dolphins are a good team.
But you know what? I mean, the Jets were there.
team.
The Jets were right there. They didn't get blown out. That was a game on Sunday. That was actually a game.
Played a better game. They played a better game.
And
Now, the thing about the Jets, though, is you can't think that that's going to mean anything.
No.
And, of course, the coach is out this week. So, because of COVID.
So I'm definitely going to take them.
So, yeah. So, even if there was something
this week has a Jets win written all over it.
Yeah. So even if there's something that's starting to happen.
Joe Namath's going to walk on the field drunk and throw out the first
with the
ball. That's right.
Absolutely.
So even if there is, some sort of rapport building, it's gonna, you won't have the coach this week. So
no,
but it could be ripe for a nice little Jets win
upset.
Here.
Well, you know what? If
this is a game we all said that they might win, right? Looking at the last 5 or 6
If the Jets
games.
win, let me put it this way: if the Jets win, it's not an upset. The Jets are favored.
The Jets are going to win this week.
The Jets are favored by 2.5 points. Now, granted, they're home, so it's not really.
It's going to be an
favored,
even uglier game to watch than the Houston Jags game.
Pretty much.
It's going to be miserable.
This is the first time in the last 26 games that the Jets are favored.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So there you go.
They're playing the University of Jacksonville.
Exactly. And Zach Wilson, when asked about the lack of offense that his team is putting out there, his answer was, "I don't worry about any of that stuff." So obviously it was a little. So that's been being used all week. So
he thinks he's a defensive back.
Yeah, pretty much. So in any event,
is that a joke? No, he wasn't trying to be funny.
No, he wasn't. He got frustrated.
Okay.
He got frustrated. But in any event, yeah, no, I think that if it wasn't for and we talked a little before you got on, Pete, about everything that's been going on, obviously with COVID and increased cases and postponements and football games at 3:00 on Tuesdays and everything else. But
yeah, which I kind of like.
Sure, why not? Breaks up the day.
Of course you do. It breaks up your weather reports.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, look, the NFL has become like a 4-day-a-week thing now, right? And a year-round thing. They've done an amazing job.
Saturday, Sunday, 2 on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, a Thursday, and a Saturday.
Making themselves relevant. I think you could have, I think you could have a game every day.
Why not?
I don't think the players would like that very well.
Well, all right. So maybe skip Friday and Saturday.
Yeah. Hey, you play on Sunday, and then you got
Monday. Skipping Saturday because they play on Saturdays already. So you're skipping Tuesday. You're skipping Wednesday.
Well,
and Friday.
but not normally. They don't normally play on Saturday.
I mean, I think you could maybe do a Friday, but you got to give them time to prepare for it.
You can have a Monday, and Tuesday, and Wednesday game. You already have a Thursday game.
Well, but you can't go from a Sunday to a Tuesday.
No, but you can go from a Sunday. You can go from a Sunday
to the following
Tuesday, and then that Tuesday to the following Sunday. You can do that.
Yeah.
This from the two guys who freaked out when I suggested altering the baseball schedule are now going to say let's have Wednesday night football.
Yeah.
No. Wednesday's the only day you can't do it. You can't do it on Wednesday unless both teams have a bye that following week. You can't have a Wednesday game. Tuesday can be part of the week prior. Thursday obviously is part of the week coming up.
Well, listen, I think nobody can really hit anybody anymore, so I think these guys have plenty of time to recover.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be as tough as you used to be.
Technically, though, you can have a Wednesday because if you play on Sunday and then you play again on Thursday, that's a 4-day turnaround, right? If you play on Wednesday and you play on Sunday, that's a 4-day turnaround.
Yeah.
We've just spent 15 minutes on the Jets. Now we're going into scheduling. Well, this is a disaster. Let's get on to our picks.
There you go. All right.
Did you guys talk about all the other games?
Yeah, no, we didn't do that. There's a few things I want to bring up. But first, I want to bring up the Saints and the Bucks. Bucks got shut out by the Saints, huh?
Yeah, it happens.
Since 1970, no team leading the NFL in points has been shut out at home in December or January. It's an interesting stat for you.
Yeah, I'll leave it to Tom Brady. He likes to set records.
Exactly. Brady getting shut out. That's his first time he's been shut out since 2006. Do you know the team that shut him out?
Chad Pennington's Jets.
Yep. And who was his coach?
Rex Ryan.
No. Chad Pennington's Jets. No, actually it wasn't Chad Pennington.
No.
Because that was 2 years later. No, it was the Dolphins when Chad Pennington was on the Dolphins. But
okay.
it was 2 years prior to Chad Pennington being on the Dolphins. No, it was the 06 Dolphins. Nick Saban led Dolphins that
Bob
shut
Tucker.
out, that shut out Tom Brady. Yeah.
Riley Odom.
Riley Odom was on. He was there. Well, he was at the game in the press box. But it's Tom Brady that the week before, or the week before the game he won the week before. I mentioned this last week. This is the 19th time Tom Brady has had a 10-win season.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this year is the 19th time Tom Brady has had a 10-win season. He has as many. He has as many or more than 18 of the 32 NFL teams in their history.
He's pretty good. I mean, if he was on the quiz, Pete would have to at least think a little bit before picking Mark Sanchez.
Somebody else, right?
Yeah, I'm no Sanchez fan.
Exactly.
Here's the thing I'll say about that game, though.
It was an odd game. There was
an odd game, and
everything went in New Orleans' favor.
Yeah, and the announcers were like, "Oh, is this the blueprint for how to beat the Bucs?" And there's some truth to that. But here's the thing: look, the Saints and
it's the blueprint on how to beat the Bucs when Leonard Fournette has a hamstring injury and Chris Godwin's out for the season with an ACL.
Yeah, and then somebody else. When Tom
Brady
they
also had two offensive linemen.
Right.
But here's the thing: look, the Saints are every NFL team has good players, right? You don't get to play in the NFL if you're not good, with the rare exception of well, you know what I mean.
Unless you're signed by the Giants or the Jets.
Right. But overall, you're a quality player if you're in the NFL.
Not any given Sunday.
Absolutely.
So it's up to the coach to figure out how to, use those quality players. And they were talking about the Saints, and I don't even remember the guy's name, and of course, whenever anybody has a good game like that, with a defensive end, I guess, they become one of the best. This guy's one of the best in the NFL. And they were talking about the entire secondary, I guess, like had maybe never played all together or in the same game or something like that, and they were young and this and that. So it's a good job of coaching, good job of figuring out a scheme that your team can execute. And again, every team has quality players. So, but I don't think this means that, the Saints have a great defense by any stretch of the imagination.
No, they have a good defense, but they don't have
a good defense, but the players were put in positions to be successful, and they were. So,
and if you look at it this way, who wasn't coaching the Saints in that game?
Rex Ryan.
Well, no, of course not. He wasn't. Sean Payton was out. Sean Payton was out with COVID, so the assistant head coach.
Right, but he's not a defensive guy anyway.
Was that?
He's not a defensive guy anyway.
I thought he was a defense. I thought he was a
defense.
Oh
yeah,
Payton.
Yeah.
Payton. I thought it was an
offensive. No, Sean Payton's
group.
Offense.
Sean Payton's that's what I mean.
Yeah, Sean Payton. Yeah, Sean Payton.
I mean,
was...
look, the Saints' offense was nothing spectacular, but it was enough to get the job done. But
Sean Payton's offensive prowess helped Kerry Collins and the Giants score 41 points to Minnesota's nothing in the 2000 NFC Championship game. Yeah. And then, of course, his offensive prowess helped the Giants score no offensive points 2 weeks later in the Super Bowl. But
which was funny. I was doing another sports show up in Westchester at the time, and it was a Thursday night show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about that game, and I said, the Giants are going to do this. They'll get a couple touchdowns, a field goal, and a turnover. And one of the other hosts added up what I'd said, and they go, so a 40-point day for the New York Giants, he said. I said, yes. Yeah. Not that I really thought that. I was just riffing, but
41-0.
I let him, I let him have it the next week.
There you go.
Shut about 41-0. That was one of the few times I was thrilled to see the Giants, annihilate.
I was thrilled to see the Giants annihilate the Vikings that week.
And I have kind of like the Vikings now, but I have no real love for them anyway. No.
Anyway,
But yeah, that was a very interesting game, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't
denote,
really mean much.
It doesn't mean the Bucks are done. It doesn't mean the Saints are back.
Yeah, and the other thing I will say,
it's a divisional game too. It's a divisional game.
Yeah,
they play each other all the time. They know each other. It's
but
a divisional game.
I also think it says a little something about a guy who has nothing to do with the Bucks this season. That's Bill Belichick.
Right.
Because if that was a Bill Belichick coach team, they probably would have found a way to do things a little differently, at least in the second half.
Sure.
And put some points on the board. The Bucks just kept, and again, they were suffering injuries, but they just kind of kept failing the same way. So.
You mean the team that won the Super Bowl last year?
No. This game.
Not in the Super Bowl. This game, the past week.
Well, I understand that, but I don't. I wouldn't necessarily say that Bill Belichick would be that much better on an offensive schemer than the Tampa Bay Bucks, who are lighting up the
No. What I'm saying is they didn't really make adjustments.
I think they tried.
I don't know.
Look, a lot of things went wrong. They had a bad game. They had a stinker, and the Saints played really well. And the Bucks have something going against them that no other team does. Is that every game that they play is the biggest game of the season for their opponents because they're the defending champs.
Right.
So.
But the guy that leads them is used to that. It's 20 years of that.
Exactly. I wouldn't worry about it.
Right.
If I'm a Bucks fan, I'm not worrying about it.
No, I wouldn't be worried either.
Yeah.
One other thing on Tom Brady. This was an interesting stat I just saw it the other day. Brady in his 20s. All right. He won 110 games. He threw 167 touchdowns. In 110 games. He played in 110 games. Threw 167 touchdowns. And had 3 Super Bowl wins. In his 40s so far, he's played 89 games, so 21 games less in his 40s so far. He has 181 touchdowns, 14 more, and 2 Super Bowl wins. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Look, you could say what you want about this last game, and I would argue Brady's been playing this year with a much less consistent lineup on the offensive side of things. Mm-hmm. The defense has not been as good as it was towards the end of last year and into the playoffs.
Right.
And he's leading the league in passing. I mean, why are we not talking about Tom Brady as an MVP candidate this year? Has he not done more for his team than Aaron Rodgers or anybody else?
Some people are talking about it.
Not a lot. I don't hear a lot about it.
Not as many as talking about Aaron Rodgers or any of the others, but
or Kyler Murray, who's let's talk about a team that stunk it up.
Yeah. Well, you mean to tell me you don't think that the Lions actually just showed up to play good football?
Finally?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not like he.
Which team are you more concerned about, the Bucks or the Cards moving into the playoffs? Yeah, me too.
The Cards, because because that's normal for them.
I'd say the Bucks because they can't stay healthy.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But yes, look, you have to take.
Well, they did lose an important receiving piece, and
Fournette. Fournette's a big loss,
and possibly Well, if he's out, Fournette could come back for the playoffs. So you're talking 3 games,
maybe.
So,
and although look,
it's a hammy. It's not like it's a season-ending injury. If it's rehabbed correctly and it loosens up, he can be back.
All right, Dr. Jersey.
And it's good. Look, as good as the Cardinals are. They as generally speaking, as Kyler, it's true of any team with a quarterback. As Kyler Murray goes, so go the Cardinals. And
right,
he's still young. What is this? His 3rd year in the league or something?
He's like 17.
He's
it looks
4.5 years old.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that lack of experience and something to consider when you get into those big games.
Oh, it is big time.
How about them Lions, huh?
Yeah, Lions.
Who wins with more wins, Lions or the Jets?
How many people lost their ass on that bet in Vegas?
Yeah.
All of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and what's funny is that between Kyler Murray and Colt McCoy in that game, they had over 300 yards passing.
Yeah.
And still lost to the Lions and only managed 12 points. And only in the second half. They were shut out in the first half.
The Lions might have the worst record in the league, but I think they're far from the worst team in the NFL.
Well, you know what? That's an interesting question. Let's look at this now, because the Jags have 2 wins, right?
The Lions have 2 now.
The Lions have 2.
and a tie, right?
Yes.
Right.
The Texans
two
and the
and a
Jets
half.
have
Two
3.
and a half, basically. Yeah, right.
And that's sort of the bottom of the barrel, right?
Oh,
Three. And then, the Texans have 3 too.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. The Texans and the Jets have 3,
3.
and the Giants have 4.
The Giants have 4. Yeah. And the
So probably the Giants will not be like. Who's going to be the bottom of the barrel here?
Well, if I was to rank
The
them
Jags.
right now, I would say that the worst team is the Jaguars.
Yeah.
I would say that the Jets and Giants are next.
You put the Texans over the.
No, I'm sorry. I think that I think the Texans are better than the Jets, and I think the Texans are tied with the Giants. And I think Detroit right now, if they were to play any of these teams, would be favored and win.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go in the best of the worst is Detroit, and I think the worst is the Jaguars. I think you can take your pick with.
So
Houston,
you're
Houston,
32.
Yeah,
Your 32 up is Jags, Jets, Texans and Giants tied, then Lions.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
I wouldn't either. Yeah. All right, let me while we're on it, let me ask this question. I got one thing I want to talk about the Chiefs, but while we're on this particular topic, let me ask it. Where is my question? Here you go.
Somebody firing up a dial-up modem.
No, it's my phone.
Oh.
Actual landline.
Who will be the number 1 seed coming out of the NFC this year?
That's a really good question. I think it's going to be the Bucs.
You think it's going to be the Bucs?
I mean, I'm sorry. I think it's going to be the Packers.
Packers. Okay.
Yeah.
Packers. Pete.
Unless they fall down, it's going to be the Packers.
Okay. And who's going to be the number 1 seed coming out of the AFC?
That's a harder question, isn't it?
Right now, it's the Chiefs. Pats are a game behind them.
I think it's going to be Kansas City.
Okay.
I think if the Patriots beat the Bills again, it'll probably end up being New England.
But Kansas City has a much easier schedule than both Buffalo and New England.
Do we really feel though that Kansas City is back?
I feel
Or
a little
have
better.
They had a couple of good games.
I feel like they can win out, and I think that's what puts them in.
Over the edge. Yeah. I think they are back. And that brings me into what I was just going to say about them. Did you watch that game on Sunday?
The Kansas City game?
The Kansas City game?
Yeah.
Did you watch any of that game?
I watched some of it.
Some of those catches, forget about the, obviously Travis Kelce tearing up the field. But as far as, did you see that one catch that Tyreek Hill made?
Well, he's out.
I know. Well, that was questionable for Sunday, so it's probably out. But the one catch on the sideline, he was interfered with. The defender had his arms basically wrapped around Tyreek Hill's arms. And I got a couple pictures here. It's like right there. Look at the ball coming in here. Well, that's the ball coming in. Look at his arms. Look at the defender's arms wrapped around. He's
Like
complete interference. And the flag was thrown anyway, so they were getting that down there anyway. But
that's considered second base.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That ball was caught by Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
He caught that ball. Look at the hands. Look at the hands of the defender on his back.
Now
Tyreek Hill still caught the ball.
Hands in front instead of around behind him.
Now Tyreek Hill knows how his girlfand feels.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's poor decision making by the defensive back.
Unbelievable. But that's crazy. A couple other notes. The Colts have 20 rushing touchdowns for this season. 17 of them are Jonathan Taylor. And as of the other day, so I don't know what the Eagles, this is as of Monday, so I don't know how many rushing touchdowns. Actually, I can just calculate it here. Eagles, how many rushing touchdowns did the Eagles have yesterday? 2 rushing touchdowns, and they were both by Jalen Hurts. Okay. So the Eagles now have 19 rushing touchdowns. The Eagles have 19 rushing touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor has 17. And
that's like Babe Ruth with the home runs.
Right, yeah. And that's it. It's the Colts have 20, the Eagles have 19, Jonathan Taylor has 17, the Titans have 16, the Cardinals have 16. It's he's a nut. He's amazing. that Jonathan Taylor guy.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He's pretty good. But and the Panthers, I just want to bring this up. The Panthers are now 0-12 in their last 12 games that Cam Newton has started. And since screaming, I'm back, he's 0-4. And with 3 TDs, 4 interceptions, and 5.6 yards per play. So,
yeah.
So.
Well, but
the Cam Newton. So my point is the Cam Newton we saw in New England last year is the real Cam Newton. Cam Newton's done. I'm pretty sure that we can all agree on.
How
that.
much of that is Cam Newton, and how much of it is a bad Panthers team?
Well, it's probably.
I'm
both.
not saying he's the
It's
Cam
probably
Newton
both.
of old, but
No, he's not.
He's obviously his skills have diminished and all
They're
that.
perfect for each other.
There you go.
Yeah.
So.
Let's see, I think. Look, he had last year. I think he had COVID, right?
Yes.
Right.
Halfway through the season.
And the game plan was run him right in New England and have him throw a 4-yard pass. Right. And then he got COVID and he came back and he was never the same. Maybe he just never really recovered from it.
It's possible.
But
COVID had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Some people have lasting effects.
But then he had COVID 6 years ago.
Either he might have. These patients zero. But either way,
one of the effects of COVID is a sudden inability to complete a pass.
Yeah. But he's not good. But the Panthers are also not good. So
yeah. All right.
That's a recipe for
exactly.
losing.
All right. What's next?
The Texans. These two stats. I want to point these two things out to you. The Texans, since 2018, versus the Jaguars are 8-0, versus the rest of the NFL are 20-34.
So yeah.
So they have the Jaguars number.
That's probably true of a lot of teams.
A lot of teams.
I bet not the Jets though.
Well, it's definitely true for New England against the Jets.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Justin Herbert made history. The most passing yards in first 2 seasons. Andrew Luck previously held it 8,196 yards in 32 games. Justin Herbert has 8,197 plus yards in 29 games. So
he's right on pace for a premature retirement.
Retirement, apparently, is that what's going? Mm-hmm. Anyway, he has that record. And
hopefully they treat him a little bit better than the Colts treated Andrew Luck.
Whoa! How did the Colts mistreat Andrew Luck?
By not getting him a line that could keep him from getting killed every week.
God.
He didn't quit because he got sick of the game. He quit because he got the shit beat out of him.
They have the same line now that Carson Wentz is behind. Come on.
No, I don't think that's
Joey Reese and the Giants didn't get Eli Manning a line that could stop him from getting the shit beat out of him. The only thing he did was he knew when to lay down and take the sack or throw the ball away, so as to not get hurt like Andrew Luck did.
Let's give Andrew Luck one there. Andrew Luck knew when to quit. I'm not sure Eli Manning did.
Well, there you go. So, I think Eli.
He was only 20 years younger than Eli.
Eli hung in there as best he could to do what best he could for the Giants. Come on.
It's not a slight on Eli. It was a
Kudos for Mr. Luck.
Yeah, it was the Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders effect.
Career game plan.
The butterfly effect, the Barry Sanders.
Have 4 good years and then get out of there.
There you go. One last thing on the Giants. Their field goals. All right. They continue. Graham Gano continues to be the hardest working place kicker in the NFL. 40% of their points are scored on field goals. And that is the second highest percentage of field goals in a game in Giants history.
Okay. Andrew Luck played in 86 games and got sacked 174 times.
174 times.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. So, yeah, I think you're right.
I'm just saying it was a contributing factor. To
it was a major contributing factor.
Understood.
So there you go. All right. On that note, we should probably get to our picks.
You think? Please.
I think it's time. Beaten by the coin.
Beaten by the coin.
I'm sure I'll lose to the coin.
No one wants to be beaten by the coin.
All right. We'll start off as we usually do with me bragging about yet another 5-0 week. Thanks to Mr. Taylor and those Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, yes, you did take the
Yeah. So you guys are both 4-1, so a 2-game differential now between you two and me. But I have a fresh chances to squander that lead, of course. And
that'll happen this week because Harry and I, before you got on, have decided that we're going to do 6 games this week.
Okay, good. I thought we might actually look at the schedule. Coin was 2-3, so they're now 9 games under 500 and way out of it.
They're the giants of our picks.
Yeah. All right. So obviously we have the Jets and the Giants. I was thinking Baltimore and Cincinnati would be a nice game.
Well, we picked them already.
Oh, you did? Okay, so who are we?
Well, if you want to pick, we decided we do the Pats and the Bills.
Okay, yeah, that was one that I liked.
We do the Cards and the Colts.
New England, hang on. And Buffalo.
Right.
Arizona.
Arizona and Indy.
That in Indy?
It's in Arizona.
Oh, okay, no. And where's the New England Buffalo game?
In
New England.
All right. And then we
Go ahead.
Then we figured we'd do the 2. Well, that's one of the Christmas games. We figured we'd do the other Christmas game, the Packers and the Browns in Green Bay.
Okay. In Green Bay.
And we thought the Chiefs and the Steelers might be interesting.
Chiefs and Steelers.
In Kansas City.
In Kansas City.
No interest in Baltimore and Cincinnati, huh?
It was a harder game. That's why we wanted to go with the Chiefs and the Steelers.
Oh, okay. All right, and where is that? That's
in Kansas City.
Okay.
I think it'll be interesting. The Steelers kind of have to win to stay in it.
Yeah, they do.
And they've been pretty resilient.
All right. Sorry, Cincy.
We can do Cincy too if you want. We'll do 7 games.
No. All right. Well, let's start off with them Giants in Philly against those Philadelphia Phillies.
I'm going Philly.
All right.
Yep, the Dirty Birds are going to win.
All right. Let's see what the old coin thinks. Ooh, it's nice and warm. It's sitting on top of my exterior hard drive.
Hey, now, is that what you call it?
Yeah.
I heard it's a floppy disk.
No, he just
Are you looking for your coin or your floppy
no, he
disk?
just jumped the ship here.
Got to always have a backup coin.
I know. Well, I'm poor. I don't have a backup.
No, come on. You're not
I
poor.
don't think I do.
All right.
All right, hold on.
I have a coin here, so I can do it if you want.
Yeah,
What?
whatever. It hit the floor and rolled away to Kansas.
coin
Roll
says
all the way. It's
tails.
probably under all of those Amazon boxes.
Maybe.
There you go. All right. Do you know what it said before you dropped it?
No, I didn't. Oh, wait a minute.
You have plenty of coins.
I got a whole bag of change here.
Just flip the bag.
Flip all of them. We'll take the average. Take a little longer.
There's $11 in here. All right, here we go.
Is that Parkway tokens? Slugs?
The coin says heads.
All right, so it's
Like
taking the
home
Eagles.
team, so everybody's taking the Eagles.
All right.
Jacksonville at the Jets. I'm going to take the Jets.
I'm taking the Jets as well.
I am as well. This is the
Right.
week they win.
Let's see what the coin says.
I've been on this game since the beginning of the year. This was one of the ones I said they're going to win. They're going to win.
Coin says tails.
It's picking the Jags. Well, what the
All right. Buffalo at New England.
I'm going with Bill and the boys.
Bills
Not
and the
Bills.
Patriots. Yeah.
Yes. Belichick and the boys.
This is a tough one.
Mac and cheese.
This is the tough one. Both teams kind of reversed their fortunes last week. The Bills are favored in this. Patriots are home. Bills are favored by 2.5.
Which is why I'm taking the Patriots.
I'm going to take the Pats too, although I don't feel good about this one, but I'm going to take the Pats.
I don't know. The Bills keep having these.
Well, who did they play? Yeah. The Lions.
Yeah, is there really? Well, didn't they just play like 2 weeks ago?
They
Bills
did.
and Patriots?
They did.
Yeah,
Right.
the Patriots won 14-10
Yeah.
in Buffalo.
In Buffalo.
like there's nothing that's happened since that makes me think this game will come out any differently.
Right. And the Bills beat the Panthers, by the way. Let's point that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to see Buffalo win this to make it a little more interesting in the division, but I just don't think they will. Just don't think they will.
And the
So we're all
Patriots
going
lost
with
to a
New
good
England
Colts
here.
team away in Indy. So
Well, we got 3 other games that I can go against the grain here. Coin says heads. They like New England.
all right.
Well, you don't need to go against the grain to keep your big lead.
Well, no, that's why I want to.
Yeah.
So I have a chance to squander it.
Okay.
Because you guys, well, you have rarely picked different teams. But all right, Indy in Arizona. I'm taking the Colts. Colts are on a roll. Arizona's reeling. They don't know what hit them.
Yeah, I actually have to concur with that. I have Indiana checked off.
God, every time I take anything to do with Carson Wentz, it backfires. But
Yeah, but they don't need him. All you got to do is hand off the ball to Taylor.
Exactly. Taylor have 300 yards rushing.
yeah, I'm going to take Indy too.
We've seen Arizona give up some big yards on the ground, right?
Yeah, I like the Colts. I just think Arizona's coming back down to earth, and I hate to admit this, but I think the Colts are maybe the hottest team in the NFL right now.
I agree.
I think they are.
I agree.
All right. And Mr. Washington says tails. So we all agree on that one.
All
I
right.
thought I was gonna be on the tree limb there.
Okay.
All right, Cleveland and Green Bay.
Games in Green Bay. I don't think there's any reason not to take Green Bay.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have picked this game.
Well, we picked it because it was a Christmas game, not because it was
Yeah.
a game to pick.
Let's go,
All right.
Packers.
Well, I'm gonna take Cleveland just so we have something to.
I will say this, even though I don't think what's his name is playing for the Browns. Their quarterback, his name is escaping me right now.
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield,
He's out, right?
Johnny Manziel,
Johnny Manziel is out.
Tony
Same thing.
Gosar.
Johnny
Tony
Manziel
Gosar.
too. Yeah, Johnny Manziel Senior, Junior. He I think he's out again. So their offense did look pretty anemic without him. I think the Packers will win this, but I do think this is going to be a close game.
All right, I'll take
All right.
Cleveland.
All right.
Coin says tails. Coin agrees with me.
There you go.
Going with them brownies.
Going with the
And
Browns.
Pittsburgh at KC.
Well, I'm taking the Chiefs. If you really want to go to the other game, we can do that too. It doesn't matter to me.
Harrison Butker is out for Kansas City.
He is
It's
out.
the kicker, right?
He's got
Mhm.
COVID, yeah.
I can't see Pittsburgh winning this game.
I want to take Pittsburgh. Something tells me my spidey senses are up about this, but
It's going to be one of those weeks.
I mean, Pittsburgh beat a pretty decent Tennessee team. But Kansas City, I think, they're just
Chiefs are hot.
they have enough of
Steelers
their
are-
offense going that I think that they're just going to outscore. But I think it's going to be a higher scoring game than people think. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Goddamn Chiefs.
All right, let's see what the coin says.
I mean, we could do the Baltimore game too. We could do 7.
Mine says heads, so that's Kansas City. All right, let's do the.
Let's do it. Let's do 7.
All right,
What is that game again?
It's the Bengals Ravens in Cincy.
In Cincy.
the Ravens. What did they do? They lost by a point.
Yep.
Last week.
They did. Because Mr. Go Big or Go Home can't kick an extra point.
Oh yeah, so that was really stupid.
Who did they lose to? The Bengals?
The Ravens. The
The Ravens lost to Green Bay.
Well, the Ravens lost. I know that.
Ravens
the,
lost
the,
to,
the Bengals won, didn't they?
Bengals won.
You
Bengals
just
beat
said
the Broncos 15-10.
You said the Bengals lost last week.
No, the Ravens.
Yes.
Ravens
The
lost
Ravens
by
lost
15.
because Dickface wouldn't kick the extra point.
The Packers.
Yeah.
The Packers were kicking the shit out of them, and then they kind of laid off, and the Ravens came storming back with Todd Hundley.
Yeah, thinking him and Tim Tebow are a dynamite combination.
No, the Bengals beat the Broncos,
Bengals beat the Broncos by 5.
Yeah.
and Lamar Jackson is not playing, right?
I might be back.
He might be back.
He was out, he was out with COVID, so he could be cleared.
I thought Lamar Jackson had a torn.
He was out with COVID. He was on a COVID list.
Well, he was also out with an ankle injury.
I think the ankle was an aggravated injury, but the reason he was out was COVID, not ankle.
Huh.
Is that true?
I believe so.
Lamar Jackson did not practice Wednesday.
That was today.
Mm-hmm.
He has not practiced since injuring his ankle against the Browns on December 12th. On Sunday, Jackson missed the first game of his career due to injury as the Ravens lost to the Packers.
So it was due to injury then.
Yeah, of course it was. No. Wait and see mode.
And they still only lost because of it.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter anyway because the backup quarterback is a clone of Lamar Jackson.
But it does. It does matter. This is a tough one.
Yeah, but it matters when he's playing the Bucs or when they're playing the Cardinals. It doesn't matter when they're playing the. I mean, the Bengals are a good team, but it's still a divisional game, and he's a good quarterback. This kid. I think the quarterback position doesn't bother me. He's got a good arm and he's got great legs. He's
them.
Lamar Jackson too.
I hate them, but I'm gonna go with the Ravens on the road. Can't believe I'm doing it.
Yeah, so Jackson left in the second quarter. Yeah, I got to take the Ravens here.
I'm with both of you. I think
they're going
to be
backup. God damn it! Fine, I'll take Cincinnati.
I've been a fan of Cincinnati all year. They just don't. They didn't look great. The Ravens played a good. They came back. They're a weird team. They're almost better when they get down.
Yeah.
Bengals only scored 15 points
against the
Broncos.
It's that good Broncos defense from the first 3 weeks.
And the Ravens almost came back and beat the Packers in Green Bay.
Yeah.
with a backup quarterback.
Yeah, I know. This says Ravens written all over it.
Yeah, I got to take the Ravens. I got to agree.
All right. Well, we got 7 games.
All right.
I'm not going to remember any of them.
Coin says tails, so we all
like the Ravens.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 7 were in lockstep. All of us.
Well,
so
what are you going to do?
Oh no, sorry.
Yeah, 6 out of 7.
Coin is taking Jacksonville over.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The only one that I would if I would go out on a limb on is the Cards. I'm not convinced of that Colts game. But I think the Colts are going to win.
All right.
Well, there you go. 7 games this week. Not 5, not 6, 7.
I got a quick quiz for you guys.
You do?
Yes.
Ooh,
it's and you don't even need to answer it because I don't know if you can without looking, without Googling. Put your Googlers away. Name one player on the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's what I thought. They're beating the Nuggets by 14 right now.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Lovely. All right.
Isn't Kevin Durant on that team?
That's right.
One other thing I wanted to point out. Hold on. I'm just going to take this off really quick. It's going to annoy me. There we go. Much better. Before we go to our top 10 list. Next week, I just want to point this out to you. I'd like to see if we could start doing. We don't have to do all 32 teams in one. We can do it by divisions. I want to actually start doing at some point during football. We'll do best player for each NFL team in their history. We could start. We could do divisions. We don't have to. Well,
if we're doing top 10 players, isn't that?
Well, I mean, we'd top 32. It would be a top 32 list. It would take too long. So we could just do. It could be a different segment. We could just do. But
we already picked half the best players on, right?
Best
on each team.
Yeah, but I guess you could do that. All right, so maybe we'll change it up. Maybe we'll do it. We'll pick a decade and do it. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do it on the fly, and we'll pick a decade and do a division, kind of thing. We'll figure it out. Figure something out. I just wanted to bring that up and talk about it. We could have done it afterwards too, but whatever. Anyway, all right. That brings us to tonight's top 10 list. Top 10 list this week, and ironically, we actually have 10. There you go. We actually all had the same 10.
I did that on purpose. I saw Pete's list. I was going to change it up, but I said, "I'll just."
I had mine done already when the two of you put them in, and
I was like, I'm doing everything I possibly can.
Pete didn't see mine, shorter. and he did have all 10 that I had on it. So I guess so. Anyway, top 10. If you didn't guess it by the jersey and the cap I'm wearing, top 10 Washington Redskins football team players of all time. And I actually tried to or were they the football teamers? Were they football teams?
Washingtonians?
Washingtonians. I don't know what they're doing, but apparently in my digging for the actual nomenclature for their team name, I did find out that they are down to 3, and the team name will be different for next season in 2022.
Really?
So, yep. And it looks like the Red Wolves seem to be in the lead.
The Red Wolves.
Red Wolves. Yeah. One of the other ones is Red Hogs, which does make sense. And there's another one, Defenders or something like that, I think was the other one.
Hogs. You can't be the Hogs. That's derogatory for pigs.
Gotcha.
Peter's going to be up in arms about that.
I think so. All right, so top 10 Washington Redskins football team players of all time. There you go. All right, we're going to kick it off with number 10. Number 10 is going to be Mr. Russ Grimm. Russ Grimm, Mr. Hog himself. Russell Scott Grimm, to be exact. Guard and center out of Pittsburgh, drafted in the 1981 draft in the 3rd round by the Washington Redskins. And, yes, he was drafted by the Washington Redskins. That's why I'm saying he was drafted by the Washington Redskins. He was not drafted by the Washington football team.
I don't think anybody's on this list is from the Washington football team.
Nobody on this list is from the football team.
So we could just say the Redskins.
It's the Redskins, yeah.
Or Washington if we
Washington.
don't want. Just going to keep it simple.
There you go. Drafted by Washington. Played for 11 seasons for Washington. 3-time Super Bowl champion. He was. They've won 3 Super Bowls in their history. He was on the team for all 3. Retired after his 3rd. After the 3rd. 4-time Pro Bowler, 4-time first-team All-Pro, and member of the NFL 1980s All-Decade Team, and one of the 70 greatest Redskins list. Actually, he's a Super Bowl champion for Super Bowl 50, as a matter of fact. I'm sorry, 40, Super Bowl 40. I guess he was on the Steelers at the time, right? He'll be the Steelers, yeah. So there you go. And he's, of course, enshrined in canon in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 10, Russell Grimm. There you go. Moving on to number 9. Number 9 is Mr. Joe Theismann. Joseph Robert Theismann, to be exact. Quarterback out of Notre Dame, drafted in 1971 draft, round number 4. Pick 99 overall by the Toronto Argonauts.
Oh, look at them at the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, played for 3 seasons in Canada, and then he moved back to the States, if you will, football wise, and played for Washington for 12 seasons, 74 to 85. I think most of us can remember his final game. I know Lawrence Taylor does, but Super Bowl champion in Super Bowl 17. NFL MVP in 1983, Offensive Player of the Year in 83, NFL Man of the Year in 82, First Team All-Pro in 83, 2-time Pro Bowler, and won the Burt Bell Award in 82 as well. And, of course, he's in the Washington Redskins Ring of Fame and a member of the 70 greatest Redskins of all time. He's not in Canton, but he is in the College Football Hall of Fame. So, number 9, Joe Theismann. Brings us to number 8. Number 8 is Mr. Charlie Taylor. Charles Robert Taylor, to be exact, wide receiver and halfback out of Arizona State. He was drafted by the Redskins in the 1964 draft, round number 1, pick 3 overall by the Redskins. He played for 13 seasons with the Redskins, took 1976 off. I believe it was due to injury. I'm not quite sure. I got to look for that. But in any event, and he coached the Redskins for 13 seasons as well. He's wide receivers coach. For the Redskins. 8-time Pro Bowler, first-team All-Pro in 67, 4-time second-team All-Pro, NFL Rookie of the Year in 64, 2-time NFL receptions leader, NFL 60s All-Decade Team. He's member of the 80s greatest Redskins of all time and a member of the Redskins Ring of Fame. And, of course, he is in Canton, Ohio as well in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 8, Charlie Taylor. That brings us to number 7. Mr. 7 tonight. Mr. 7 is Mr. Sonny Jurgensen. Sonny Jurgensen, quarterback out of Duke. Another Duke quarterback. Hey.
Successful one.
There you go. Though. Duke quarterback drafted in the 1957 draft, round number 4, pick 43 overall, by the Eagles. He played 7 seasons for the Eagles, and then he moved to Washington and played 11 seasons for the Redskins. NFL champion in 1960 with the Eagles. First team All-Pro in 61, 3-time second-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, 5-time NFL passing yards leader, 2-time NFL passing touchdowns leader, passer ratings leader in 1967. Remember the 60s All-Decade team? He's in the Eagles Hall of Fame and the Redskins Ring of Fame. And NFL record, he's one of the many that are tied for the longest touchdown pass of 99 yards. So there you go. Passing yards total, multiple stats, but his passing yards totals over 30,000, 32,224. And, of course, he's in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. Mr. 7 tonight, number 7 is Sonny Jurgensen. All right, that brings us to number 6. Number 6 is Mr. Dexter Manley. Dexter Keith Manley, to be exact. Defensive end out of Oklahoma State, drafted in the 5th round in 1981 by the Redskins. He played 9 seasons for the Redskins, and then he played a season for the Cardinals. Technically the Phoenix Cardinals at the time, not even the Arizona. They were the Phoenix Cardinals in 90. Played a year for the Bucks, and then he went up to Canada and played for the Ottawa Rough Riders, and he played for the Shreveport Pirates for a year too. But the years we are concerned with for this list is the 9 he played for Washington. 2-time Super Bowl champion, first team All-Pro in 86, Pro Bowl in 86 as well, defensive lineman of the year in 86, second team All-Pro in 87, member of the 70 greatest Redskins. Is that 2 different lists? Is there a 70s greatest Redskins and an 80 greatest Redskins? Anyway, he's in Washington Ring of Fame, and there you go, Mr. Dexter Manley, number 6 on our list tonight. Bringing us to number 5 is Mr. Chris Hanburger. Not Hamburger, Hanburger. Christian G. Hanburger Jr., linebacker out of North Carolina. The 1965 draft, drafted in the 18th round. Pick 245 overall by the Washington Redskins. He played for 14 seasons for the Redskins. 9-time Pro Bowler, five-time first-team All-Pro. I can talk tonight. Second team All-Pro in 74, 70 greatest Redskins, and the Redskins Ring of Fame. And he is enshrined in Canton in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 5, Chris Hanburger. Brings us to number 4. Number 4 is one of the next 2 that Pete has a little connection to because they were a Jet at one point in their career. It would be Mr. Art Monk. Mr. James Arthur Monk. Wide receiver out of Syracuse. Drafted in 1980, first round, 18th pick overall by the Redskins. Played for 14 seasons with the Redskins, and then played a year with the Jets and a year with the Eagles before retiring. 3-time Super Bowl champion, played in all 3 Super Bowls with the Redskins. First team All-Pro in 84, second team All-Pro in 85. 3-time Pro Bowler. Receptions leader in 84, member of the 80s All-Decade team, 70 greatest Redskins, and Washington Redskins Ring of Fame. He was the first receiver to reach 900 career receptions. And he also is enshrined in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Art Monk, number 4. Brings us to number 3. Number 3 is Mr. John Riggins, the Diesel, or Riggo, as he was known. Fullback out of Kansas, drafted in the first round in 1971 draft, pick number 6 overall by them New York Jets. Played for 5 seasons with the Jets before going down to Washington and playing 9 seasons with the Washington Redskins, taking 1980 off. Super Bowl champion for Super Bowl 17. He was the Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl 17 as well. NFL Comeback Player of the Year in 78. First team All-Pro in 83, Pro Bowler in 75, 2-time NFL rushing touchdowns leader. Member of the 80s All-Decade team. Member of the 80 greatest Redskins. Washington Redskins Ring of Fame. And, of course, he is enshrined in Canton in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 3, John Riggins. Robert John Riggins. Brings us to number 2 on our list. Number 2 is Mr. Darrell Green. Darrell Ray Green, to be exact. Cornerback out of Texas A&M. Drafted in the first round of the 1983 draft, pick number 28 overall by the Redskins. Played his entire career with the Redskins. 20 years. 20 seasons. He played 1983 to 2002. 2-time Super Bowl champion. 4-time first-team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, Walter Payton Man of the Year Award in 96, NFL 1990s All-Decade Team, NFL 100th Anniversary Team, the Redskins Ring of Fame, 70 Greatest Redskins, and, of course, he is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 2, Darrell Green. And that brings us to number 1. Number 1 on our list tonight is Mr. Slinging Sammy Baugh.
Yeah, he was a systems.
He was a systems guy.
Systems slinger.
I just want to point out that Slingin' Sammy Baugh, Samuel Adrian Baugh, to be exact, was not only a quarterback, but he was also a punter and a free safety. Mm-hmm. All right, and it was in the days where they didn't wear face masks on their helmets. It was a leather helmet days kind of thing. He was whatchamacallit? Went to college. He went to TCU. He was drafted in the first round, pick 6 overall in 1937. Played with the Redskins from 1937 to 1952, so that would be 16 seasons. And, of course, he's a 2-time NFL champion in 37 and 42, 4-time first-team All-Pro, 4-time second-team All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowler, 4-time NFL passing yards leader, 2-time NFL passing touchdowns leader, 3-time NFL passer ratings leader, 8-time NFL completion percentage leader, 5-time NFL punting average leader, NFL punting yards leader in 43, NFL interceptions leader in 43 as a safety. Member of the stats are ridiculous. Member of the 80 greatest Redskins of all time. Member of the Redskins Ring of Fame. His number 33 with the Washington football team, as it's denoted here, is retired. NFL 40s All-Decade Team, the 75th Anniversary Team, the 100th Anniversary Team. And, of course, he is also enshrined in Canton in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Samuel Adrian Baugh, Slingin' Sammy, number 1 on our list tonight.
There you go.
Unsung.
Can I just throw out a couple of numbers about John Riggins?
Please do.
Because these always fascinate me. So, 1975, his last year with the Jets, 14 games, 238 carries, 1,005 yards.
Right.
Not bad.
No.
78 with Washington, 15 games, 248 carries, 1,014 yards. Mm-hmm. The next year, 260 carries, 1,153 yards. Mm-hmm. So the guy was a workhorse.
Sure.
Let's fast forward to 1983. Mm-hmm. 15 games played and started, 375 carries for 1,347 yards. And then the next year, in only 14 games, 327 carries for 1,239 yards.
Crazy.
And in 83, 24 rushing touchdowns.
Insane numbers.
I don't know who had the most carries.
And that was 13 years after he was drafted.
Yeah, that was, and these were his next to last 2 seasons.
35 years old he was at the time.
Yeah.
3 yards and a cloud of dust.
Exactly.
And he was a good back for both teams. He averaged.
It's a great back.
More than 4 yards. He's
way better than way better than good. He was great.
He was a great back, absolutely.
Yeah,
which is why he's number 3 on our list tonight.
That's right.
But that's just, I don't who had the most carries in the last half dozen years in the NFL. I wonder.
Oh, it's got to be Henry.
Probably.
But it wasn't 375.
No, not at all. It's you'll never see that again. There's too many. There's too much money on passing plays. Yeah, that'll never happen again.
Yeah. And by the way, one other thing I forgot to mention before. Did you see who signed with the Chiefs? Running back.
Who signed with the Chiefs?
Jonathan Taylor already has 270 attempts.
There you go.
This year.
And he still has 3 games.
Yeah.
So he could get close to that.
He could get close to
30 carries a game for the
And Derrick Henry had 378 last year.
Okay, there we go.
Dalvin Cook had 312.
All right.
So how many other guys were over 300?
Two, just the two of them.
All right.
There you go.
So a couple throwaway. Yeah, which running back with a connection to the Jets just signed with the Kansas City Chiefs?
Frank Gore.
Nope.
No, Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, Le'Veon.
Le'Veon Bell, yeah.
Secret ingredient.
There you go. So, and how about those numbers with Sammy Baugh? I mean, he's got records.
Yeah,
for quarterback, punter, and free safety.
Yeah, there were some of the reading I was doing were saying like there are people who will vehemently argue that he's the greatest player in NFL history.
Yeah, it's
because of the variety of stuff that he did.
Sure.
He's the best quarterback punter safety combo ever in the history of the game.
That's true. That's true.
Trio.
I mean, really, Jeff Jenkins is the only other guy.
Jack
right?
Jenkins, right? Exactly.
And he didn't play enough safety.
No. He's a distant second.
Yeah,
exactly.
A far distant second.
That's right.
All right. Well, that'll bring us to this week's Old Balls.
Old balls.
Harry, tell us who is this week's Old Balls recipient.
Well, this week's Old Balls recipient is just a name who I'm going to put, but I think it goes to the entire group of people that he played with. And I think it was a big reason why John Riggins had the success he had, the longevity he had, and the ability to do what he did. And that's none other than Joe Jacoby. And you know, Joe Jacoby was we talked about Russ Grimm, but this offensive line, I'm not sure there's an offensive line that's better known. I mean, I think they did a good job of sort of marketing themselves in some ways, the Hogs. This is a run first, down and dirty. We're going to smack you in the face and run straight ahead with John Riggins. And that's what offensive line, you can't do that unless you have a really good offensive line. And you could argue who was, you know, Russ Grimm was probably the best of these, or the most decorated of these linemen. But Joe Jacoby won 3 Super Bowls, played in 4, I believe. It was a 4-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 83, 84, and 87. And it's part of the NFL 1980s All-Decade team. He's in the Washington Ring of Fame. Some would argue he should be in the Hall, but he's not. But if you look at what this offensive line, which was Jeff Bostic, Mark May, George Stark, and Russ Grimm, along with Joe Jacoby, in the 80s, I would have to argue that this was the greatest offensive line in the history of the game. Now, there's some others in there. You could talk about a lot of them, and the game has changed dramatically. But this was just a team that won Super Bowls by saying, we are going right at you with this guy who's a slow, sure-footed running back, and we're going to pound you until and we're going to do it 380 times in a season, and we're going to win some Super Bowls. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, as a guy who was a young offensive lineman in the 80s playing high school ball, these were the guys you look up to. I mean, there was nobody better. And there's some individual offensive linemen that I think were way better than any of these guys on this team. But and I'll put Riggins as part of the Hogs. You know, they were just, I think, the last smash mouth football team to consistently do this year in and year out for 4, 5, 6 years in a row.
Yeah, they were.
And Jacoby was one of the best. You know, he was one of the tackles. He played right next to Russ Grimm. He was the lead blocker on one of Riggins' most famous touchdown runs, which ensured the Redskins, win over the Dolphins in '83. Look, in that game, the Redskins set a Super Bowl record for most rushing yards with 276. So I know we give props to offensive linemen and linemen in general a lot on Old Balls, but this goes out to Joe Jacoby and Jeff Bostic and Mark May and George Stark and Russ Grimm and all of those guys who played on those Joe Gibbs era Washington football teams. Just incredible. I don't think there's ever been a rushing attack like that. And it makes me want to think, like, imagine these guys blocking for a Barry Sanders or blocking for, a Jonathan Taylor nowadays, not taking anything away from Riggins.
No.
But I think with somebody who had the ability to maybe turn some of those 5, 6, and 12-yard runs into a 30 or 40-yard run, I think these guys could have broke all rushing records in the NFL. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those guys and the Hogs or whatever helped the Redskins without Riggins break that rushing yards record 5 years later against the Broncos in Super Bowl 22.
Right.
So, and a lot of people, if anybody out there is a little bit younger or whatever, and you remember listening about the Giants in their heyday in the 80s, the Redskins were right there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the Giants beat the Redskins to get to the Super Bowl 20.
Well, the Redskins had more
went
success.
the next year.
They went what? They went to 4 Super Bowls and won 3, right?
They went to 5, won 3.
Went to 5 and won 3. Well, even better.
I would say that's more success.
Yeah.
Is it 5 and? Is it 5?
Yeah,
it's
the
4.
NFC was
5. It's 5 and 3. Yeah.
The NFC East was a beast back then.
Yeah,
the Giants sort of snuck in a couple times.
The Giants
you had
lost
the Redskins and the Cowboys after that.
The Giants lost in the early 80s to the Raiders, and they also lost in the early 70s to the Miami team that went undefeated. They beat the Redskins.
You're talking the Redskins. You said the
Redskins. Giants. I'm sorry, the Redskins. The Redskins lost to the Raiders.
Giants lost to the Raiders in the Super Bowl.
Giants lost to the Raiders in the early.
Fuck was I?
The Redskins lost to the Raiders in the early 80s, and they lost to the Dolphins in the early 70s.
Yeah,
so
that was a great Super Bowl.
Yeah. It was, so it was 5.
But what I'm saying is that Gibbs era team, that 80s era team, went to 4.
Right. The Gibbs era team went to 4. Yeah,
that was what I was talking about. Yeah. They went to 4, and they the one they lost, wasn't it a close one?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I remember it being a close game, but who knows what I remember anymore.
We'll have to check that out. But anyway, there you go. That's this week's old balls.
Joe Jacoby.
There you go. All right. Do we want to get into any basketball? Or do we want to wrap it up for Christmas week? What do you think?
I say we wrap it up.
Yeah.
Although Pete doesn't have any obscure story of.
No, I'm just noticing that the Nets are the one team in the East with single-digit losses, but there are 3 of those teams out in the West.
Right.
Yeah, I think look, the NBA real quickly. The NBA is dealing with COVID. That's having a big impact. I think that injuries are having a big impact on the season. And when you look at Golden State, Phoenix, and I'll put Utah in that list. I think that they're head and shoulders above the rest of the West, and I think the Nets are. I think they're the best team in the East. I think there's a lot of teams that could catch up to them a little bit, but I think there's a lot more question marks next to those teams, and we'll see. The Nets are going to have a part-time Kyrie now. I mean, does that help them or hurt them? I don't know.
Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out. That's a bit. Well, and listen, the good news for the Knicks is that well, I don't know if this is good news. Let me ask you guys that Kemba is back, right?
Yeah, but Derrick Rose is out for 2 months.
Yeah. Is that the only reason that Kemba Walker's back?
Yeah. I mean, the decision to not play him at all, I thought was a kind of an odd one. I don't think I like him better with the second unit, which is one of the reasons why Derrick Rose has having the success that he had.
Right.
Well, the Knicks of what he came back. He's well rested.
Yes, he is,
and he had one good game. So we'll see.
Yeah, but their defense. I was listening to the Michael Kay show, and their defense was worse in the games that Walker was off the.
Yeah, well, just because they're
not on the bench, rather.
Not playing. It's not just Kemba. Look, Kemba's no defensive.
No, but that was the point, is that he wasn't the problem with the Knicks defense, obviously. Yeah. Because they were having they were just giving up a ton of points.
Look, I'm gonna let everybody in on a little secret, and no matter what the Knicks do, unless they make a trade for even if they do, they're not making the playoffs this year. No. And so we're going to be talking about the Knicks having to make a decision.
If they do, it's a play-in game and they're done.
Yeah, so. I think that the Knicks,
and that's a stretch.
The Knicks need to make a big move here, and this is going to define Dolan for years to come. Can the Knicks attract a big name free agent, one that actually fits in on this team and one that they need? Can they do that? Because you can't. Julius Randle's still playing pretty well. The defense is not what it was last year. They're much more porous. They don't have consistencies, I think, in the lineup like they needed to. And so far, the Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier additions have not made them a better team. So they're going to have to make some decisions, or we're going to see this. We're going to see the Knicks for the next couple of years kind of being in this situation because there's a bunch of teams who have gotten better. Look, the Atlanta Hawks are dealing with the same thing. There's a bunch of teams in the East who have just gotten better, and the Knicks are not one of them.
Yeah. To your point, not to get off of basketball, but to your point on the Raiders, Redskins, it was Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl 1983.
Yeah, that one wasn't close.
It was Super Bowl 18.
That was the 83. That's Marcus Allen.
Yeah. The Raiders beat the Redskins 38-9.
Yeah, that's right. That was their they dipped their toe in there. But look, the next 3 out of 4 out of the next 6 years they were in it.
They were in Super Bowl 17. They won Super Bowl 17. They were in Super Bowl 18, and they won Super Bowl 22, and then they won Super Bowl 26.
There you go. So it was,
17, 22, and 26, and then they were in 18. So there you go. All right. Cool. All right. So,
you guys have any thoughts on the NHL putting the kibosh on the Olympics?
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up if we did it, but yeah, you brought it up. I don't know.
I heard Mike Eruzione sharpening his skates.
Mike Eruzione is going to come back, and
yeah, who do we send? Like, are we actually going to send like an old school team?
I don't think we're going to
college kids like we used to. Remember the team that beat the Russians and then the Swedes at Lake Placid and greatest.
Of course, I remember. Yes, of course,
greatest moment in. I'm just saying the greatest moment in in the United States Olympic hockey history didn't happen with a bunch of pros on the ice.
It did not. It did not. You're
so maybe we should go back.
Maybe we should look to that.
The kids are all young too. They don't get.
Why
sick.
not? Why not? They got something to play for. They want to do it. Let them do it. Why not?
Why not?
So, all right.
But the other thing is like you know who do you staff it with? Because you can't staff it with NHL guys either.
No.
So I guess best college.
You got to
right?
your
Draw
college
from the
coaches,
ranks
sure.
of college and
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
honestly,
they've been the ones that have been coaching them up in college. So who better to go?
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good point. And I don't. Listen, I'm not blaming the NHL or the Players Association. I'm kind of looking forward to the disaster that I hopefully won't happen. Hopefully, we'll do the right thing. And
exactly.
I mean, what other choice do we have? Exactly. Who else are we going to send?
Yeah, it's either them or they're out of it. They're not. Unless
I mean, it doesn't.
Maybe you know what? Maybe that's where they'll make D4. And they could send the Mighty Ducks over.
But
and then they got Emilio Estevez coaching them, so they're good to go.
This impacts Canada and other. I mean, more than it does the United States. I mean, this impacts the whole world. This is the NHL not sending any players to the Olympics, not just the U.S. players not going to the Olympics.
Right, but to Pete's point, I think that Canada probably has a few more amateurs that they could send than the United States does. And not that the United States doesn't have amateurs; they got great college players. But I think when you're born in Canada, the first thing you learn to do is eat. The second thing you learn to do is play.
I understand all that, but it's still. My point being is that this is a decision that this is the one sport. It would be somewhat similar to the NBA, but there's much more of a balance of multiple nations represented in the NHL.
Right.
So this is going to impact everybody. Right?
You're right. It's definitely going to impact everybody. Absolutely. I hear you. It's not just the United States thing. That's your point. Mm-hmm. To your point, that's what you're saying. It expands beyond the boundaries of the United States for this decision that's being made. Sure, absolutely, I agree. Well, we'll see how that plans out, and that's going to be interesting to talk to once we get to the Olympics too. We'll I like to talk about some Winter Olympic stuff. That'll be good. We'll have a couple.
We'll have our top 10 curlers of all time.
Top 10 curlers of all time. Absolutely. Cool. All right, Pete. Any over-unders tonight?
No. Save it for next week.
Nah, I don't really have any good ones.
All right. So we'll get one ready. We'll save it for next week. You got to do the Amazon boxes though.
Yes, I'll do a count.
There you go. Do a count,
and then we'll do it next week.
Sounds good to me. All right. On that, we'll wrap the show up for today. We want to thank everybody for watching. For those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of our shows are on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night around 7:30 Eastern Time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. Plus, the show is now available on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you'll never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful Festivus on Thursday, tomorrow. We didn't do feats of strength.
No, we're too old for that.
There we go. Oh, all right.
That's
Pick up
right.
my glass. There you go.
Georgie, pin your father.
Have a wonderful Christmas Eve. Have a fantastic Christmas. Have a very Merry Christmas. A happy and safe and healthy Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful weekend. Watch all of the games. Watch a lot of sports. Enjoy, folks. Eat a lot of food. Drink some libations if you so choose to, but drink responsibly. And enjoy yourselves this weekend. Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you very much for watching and following along with us. And we will talk to you soon. Take care, folks. Cheers.
Joyous Kwanzaa.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of different holidays going on right now. So
Lots of them,
whatever you're celebrating,
That's
happy
right.
holidays.
Anything you're celebrating. Happy holidays.